Neon lights, they're cutting through the night. City streets, they call out to the fight. A skyline homes alive, never still. Chasing dreams, we run against the thrill. Young hearts in a glow, in a pulse of the street. We rise, we fall, where the shadows meet. Underneath the lights, we're the ones they'll talk about. Young, wild and free, let it all scream out.
What up? We have a show today. Holy shit. I'm excited. I am. I have to say, I told you some good shows will be coming. Monday night too, 6:30 p.m. Make sure you're here. We got the widow of John McAfee, new documentary coming out. It's a mystery about his death. That's going to be a big show for us on Monday night and today. Last minute unannounced. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for this. This is going to be a big show today. We have somebody who used to be the U.S. Attorney in Massachusetts. When I first met her, she was running for district attorney for Suffolk County in Boston. She came up on this show, actually. I say my old show, but it's the same show, but it's just different because we used to do it in a studio, and we had a company behind us, and now we're independent. It's funny, completely independent. We were somewhat then, but still. It's funny how things have changed, but they're still the same because she's going to be back on the show today. I'm wicked excited. This is, and we all have so many questions of whether it's about Boston, about some of the scandals, John O'Keefe, Sandra Birchmore. I mean, there's going to be, I know you guys are just throwing questions at me left and right today. So enough about me and what I'm excited about. Let's bring up this guest. She told me she has plenty of time. She said nothing is off limits. And again, this is one of the things I like about this candidate who's running for Suffolk County DA, the office she used to hold, the election she won before she became a U.S. attorney, before she stepped aside, is she goes on platforms and answers questions like Howie Carr. Howie Carr used to bash her. She calls in to Howie. I love that. I love when people are willing to have the conversations, and whether you love her or not, you have to give her that type of respect that she's going to be here and answer all of our questions today. And she is obviously asking for your vote. If you live in Suffolk County, she's running for district attorney. The last time I met her, she was running for district attorney. The last time she was on the show, it was like a week or two before she won that election, won that primary. Let's bring her up on the show. Again, former U.S. attorney, former Suffolk County DA, district attorney, Rachael Rollins. Welcome back to the Young Jurks.
Mike, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's funny because this is it's like deja vu, but a lot has changed.
That's right. It's like deja vu all over again. I agree. And what a weird, we were talking offline just about how you have come up in the world, because where you were before, it was a great little studio, but there was a lot going on some of those hallways I walked down. But you know what? It's like, it was fun and grungy. But yeah, I'm back, and I'm trying to run for the same office I did 8 years ago, because I believe in that office and I believe in the people of Suffolk County. But yeah, I'm excited to start this conversation with you.
Tell us about your campaign, because like you said, you've done this before. Last time you were on the show, what year was that?
Oh,
I'm trying to think.
2018, which feels like 1818, right? Like,
so it's 8 years ago.
8 years ago,
basically.
almost to the day. So yeah, we ran last time. I had never run for office before. I was about 46 years old at the time. I'm 47. I'm 55 right now. We had just a dream, a vision of what Suffolk County could be if we use data and analysis to look at crime and thought creatively about people and what they do and looked at patterns, etc. Mike, I had said before, like if you can use your phone to say best burrito within 3 miles of me, and we can have all of these choices, I think we can look and see with 20 years of data, if we prosecute somebody for something that's nonviolent, does that really result in them becoming better or not? So those were some of the things we were thinking about. We dreamed and thought big. We got tons of free data analysis from people that were interested. And we won, right? We won, right? Like, so there were 5 of us last time, 5 Democrats. We won with about 40% of the vote. The next person had 23%. The last person had 9%. They're back in the race this year as well. And then we had a Republican that we had to beat in the general, and we did that soundly with 80% of the vote. And what we did was remarkable in Suffolk County in those 3 years prior to me becoming U.S. attorney.
I mean, it was kind of revolutionary in a lot of respects nationwide. You were kind of like the figurehead of a lot of kind of radical. They call you the George Soros prosecutors. Like there was kind of a movement there where a lot of you won, and I think you were one of the big first ones to win. What do you think about what's happened since? Because there's kind of been, I think things were very fertile for that because you had Black Lives Matter, you had all of this kind of upheaval, but things have kind of pushed back now, and you've had a lot of pushback.
Yeah, the pendulum has swung a lot in the other direction. But let me just clarify a few things. Even though I'm called the George Soros prosecutor, I never got a dime from George Soros. So that was also like, Jesus, at least if you're going to call me that, hopefully Soros is like pouring money into my campaign. He didn't. 1, 2, I didn't have a comms team when I was running for office. So I had the sort of all caps do not prosecute list with an asterisk, and then in font, 0.01 invisible ink, rebuttable presumption of do not prosecute. So if I could do it over again, I would have said, what we're going to do is just look at all of these crimes. And if Mike gets picked up for a shoplifting and it's his first time ever doing it, and he's clearly on heroin and, unhoused, sorry, Mike, right? We're going to try to get him treatment and housing instead of tying him up in the criminal legal system. If it's Rachael and this is her 6th time doing it this month, she's going to jail. So it's just a matter of, we can't have a blanket policy about always this, always that, aside from like murder, right? But there's a piece of it where even there we've seen, Mike, and we'll get into that with Karen Reed and other people, or suicide with Sandra Birchmore, when it's like, oh, wait a minute, it was a really a double homicide. Like, we got to look at things well. So that's all I was trying to do with respect to my policies. And then I think we won because I was the only one that wrote something down, because I said, look, if you hate this, here's the 4 other people that are running, please vote for them. If you're willing to try this, and by the way, I'm the only one that wrote anything down and has a written policy and is promising you something, then vote for me. And so that happens in 2018. I get into office in 2019. You're right. We have like Larry Krasner and Philly and all these other people. And it's almost like, remember the movie Final Destination, where like 7 friends are all say something weird and then we each get murdered? Like, it was almost like that with the progressive prosecutors, right? It's like, holy shit, Chesa Boudin got recalled. Marilyn Mosby got indicted. Rollins is investigated. Kim Fox had the Jussie Smollett thing in Chicago. She dodged that bullet, won her election, and then decided to step away. But yeah, I think the pendulum has swung the other way. Now, whether they're going to get back to this, tough on crime mentality that's going to just honestly cost a lot of us more money, our taxpayer dollars, we'll see. But I want to remind people, I'm the same progressive that when Tyler Brown shot, the guy who shot up Memorial Drive, I was the DA that said that man needs 10 to 12 years. Like me, the one that everyone loves labeling as nobody goes to jail everyone's free, which is obviously not the truth. But, you need deliberate, thoughtful leadership. You need people that are willing to look and see that there's a big difference between mentally, people with mental health problems and substance use disorders who are violent, and people with mental health problems, substance use disorders that aren't violent. Tyler Brown had mental health and substance use issues, but loved firearms, right? And shooting at the police and doing stuff that was escalating. So he needed to be removed because he could not comport himself to the standards of our society. That's very different to me than a person on Mass and Cass who isn't, is annoying, of course, right? If you own a pizza shop there, I'm sure you want everyone gone. But at the end of the day, that's somebody's mom or sister or brother or uncle. We can treat them with compassion and hold them with decency, right? To try to have them get the treatment and services they need. So that's kind of the way I was thinking about stuff.
I liked it. I obviously supported it back then. The reason I like it is because I feel like that they are too harsh on people that are sometimes just going through some issues and they need help, not punishment, and not jail, which often turns people into criminals. Let's be clear. It's a worse thing for people, actually. Sometimes it helps people get clean, but a lot of times it makes things worse. So I like the idea of it. I know a lot of people don't like it because they talk about the broken windows type law enforcement and things like that, which I get that too. I see both sides of it. But I definitely want to mention some of your work in the U.S. Attorney's Office before we talk about your DA campaign, because that's what everybody's asking me about that today. You have Adam Deitch, who's running for Norfolk County DA's office.
Yeah.
He worked for you. What do you think about him right off the bat? Because he worked for you. I'm just wondering what you might have to say about him.
I think Adam, hey, can you get out of the background? Thanks. There's like naked people running around in my house.
Oh, they didn't know?
Naked. I'm joking. They're just my kids that are like barely clothed. So yeah, I think Adam and I, Adam was in the office before I got there. I think Adam is smart. I think it's important, Adam aside, that you ask, people love talking about like, I used to do this, I used to do that. Ask questions, right? Have you ever supervised anyone before? Were you ever promoted in the office, right? Like there are people running for office right now for the DA's race that are saying they led a unit, but there was a chief of the unit that wasn't them. So there's a part where it's like, I don't like playing games, right? Like just admit what you did. So it's fine. If Adam's never been a supervisor or manager, that's fine. But the DA's office is a big job. Now, if the people of Norfolk County choose to allow somebody to lead them that has never led before, okay, that's fine, right? But I feel like, I want people to be asking questions. I think there are people in that race that have worked for Morrissey that certainly understand the office. I don't know that gentleman well, but I think he was the equivalent of the Greg Henning when I ran back in 2018.
Right. Yeah, totally. His name's Greg too. Yeah. Greg Connor, Greg Henning. Yeah.
Greg, right. I think they're twins, right? But so
they are.
For me, there's a piece of this where, Norfolk Greg is smart enough to know that he doesn't want Morrissey touching him with the 10-foot pole, right? Because I have said out loud, and I'll say it again, how in God's name does DA Morrissey have an effing job right now that our taxpayers' dollars are paying for him? He makes $223,000 American dollars a year. American dollars, not good, not a scudo, not yen, not peso, American dollars. And this mofo, okay, if you ever, Mike, if I had called Sandra Birchmore's murder of her and her unborn child a suicide, I would have been deported, and I was born here, right? I'm an American citizen. If I had effed up the Karen Reed trial and spent millions, this is the most expensive DUI trial in the history of not just America, the world, right? And I'm not saying, I don't care where you fall on the Karen Reed trial or not. These people knew what Michael Proctor's texts were, right? Yes, I did just say mofo, and I love mofo, right? Because I'm trying to
Just
work
said,
Josie Lou on my swearing, which is very bad, and I'm trying to give it up. But
one of
yes,
our favorite people uses mofo. He had a question for
mofo,
you
right?
today
The
too. He's a
mofo.
former
So,
DAA guy. Yeah. So
but here's my
you made a
point.
great point there though. 'Cause
Yes.
I just want to because underline that because if you had done what Morrissey had done, you're right. They would have been like they would have run you out of
Revolt.
town.
Remember
Like it's
Frankenstein?
like
They would have had
oh oh.
pitchforks and
I mean, you got they went crazy because you got mad at somebody in traffic or some
I
shit. Like
know,
that was like
right? I
so.
beat
I
to my
can imagine
horn
if you
and
had done
yelled.
what Morrissey did. You know,
Right.
the
And
other thing when
go ahead.
you
No,
mentioned Adam Deitch. Adam Deitch. I would love to ask him those questions, but he hasn't. Guess what? Not come. He hasn't come on. He hasn't done what you're doing. He
yeah.
hasn't come on this show.
You know what? And I don't have a dog in that fight. I have nothing against Adam, so I don't want
I
you to
don't
think
either.
I'm
I
trying
want to
to
ask
put,
him the questions though.
my finger on the scale. But here's the point. I just think when I ran last time, I think the reason I won is there's all these people that are like, oh, I've tried all these cases and I've done this and I hate Monica Can't. Okay, good. Maybe other people do. Maybe other people don't. I don't care. The DA in Suffolk County, we have 300 employees, over 12 job locations. We have a budget of over $25 million and we handle 20,000 cases a year. Name me anything you've ever done close to those things. What's the biggest budget you've ever overseen? So ask Adam, what is the biggest budget you've overseen? Or Greg, if you are not the DA, you don't have a budget, right? Like, did you ever file an SFI? It's called a statement of financial interest. The only people who file that in the state of Massachusetts, I mean, Adam Deitch is a federal employee, but essentially in the state, you only file it if you have the ability to hire or fire people, right? So you can see if someone's filed an SFI, they've been a supervisor before, but then you got to ask more questions. Have you ever hired anyone without having to check with your boss? And the answer would be no, right? Like certainly when you $25,000 cases a year. Yes. So remember, a lot of those cases, let's not lie, are like, Mike is driving without a license, gets pulled over and arrested or without his insurance, and you get arrested or you get a ticket, or you're summoned to court and you show up and it's dismissed at your arraignment. Okay, that's considered one case. You know what else is considered one case? The double homicide of 2 anesthesiologists in South Boston that I oversaw that horrific murder trial. That's also considered one case. Those are 2 very different things, right? So you got to ask the questions, and then it's up to the voters. Some people might say, you know what? I don't care if you don't even supervise your home. Your wife won't let you make decisions, right? You can't feed your kids without checking in with other people. I just want Morrissey gone. That's fine. But I want people to understand what the job is, right? So I will say to you, I think with Morrissey, and people think I dislike him, no, we aren't having sleepovers and sending each other funny texts. But I just feel like I hate the fact, and I said it on Jim Browdy once, like this dude is shaped like the penguin and nobody's talking, and his hair's always crazy. No one's talking to him about his appearance, but female DAs are like, oh, she's ugly, or she's this, or I like her hair, or she looks too this. And it's like Morrissey looks like, remember Nick Nolte when he got his DUI? Pull up that photo when he looked crazy. That's what Morrissey looks like every time he's interviewed. And I said to Jim Browdy, so no one's going to tell him he looks like he was just electrocuted, but people want to ask me about what I'm wearing, or I don't like your hair like this, or whatever. It's just gender-based, right? And so let me end with, I blame the elected officials right now. They're cowardly, right? Nobody is saying this dude needs to step down. It's repulsive. Everyone is focused on Karen Reed. As bad as you think that was, Sandra Birchmore is exponentially worse. And remember, I was the U.S. attorney with both of those cases, right? So Reed came up to us when the murder trial was before the first murder trial, and Birchmore happened when I was the U.S. attorney, and it's a public record. I wrote a letter to the chief of police. It's a public record, right? To say what is going on here. I think she handled it quite well because she was repulsed with the 3 police officers that had essentially human trafficked, exploited, and, statutorily raped this young, groomed Sandra when she was under the age of consent. So it's just repulsive conduct, horrifically sad. And Matthew, I call him Farewell, not Farwell, because he's gone. He deserves everything that's coming to him.
Now, there was a new reporting that just came out from Michelle McVie, LA Mag, about Farwell. And the story was really about his defense, wanting all this documentation about Norfolk County, and kind of playing off the Proctor thing, and also saying there's a bigger investigation, hinting at that there's a bigger investigation going beyond just Farwell, because the FBI had done like 50% plus of their investigation after the arrest. Is there something greater going on with this Matthew Farwell, do you think, or is it just him?
I have no information about that. I had left the U.S. Attorney's office. You would have to speak to the current U.S. Attorney, and they will likely, I can't speak for them, but you'd have to ask them. What I can say is the FBI can do whatever it wants. But, I don't think Farwell has any standing to sort of say anything. He just recently filed a motion of wanting to be released pending trial, and, is looking at underage porn. I'm not begrudging anyone for what is on their phone, but I just think, like, dude, focus on yourself, right? Like, you clearly have an issue. And there's a part of me too, where I'm like, how are these people still married, right? The Good Wife is a real thing, this movie, where I'm like, is Michael Proctor, like, it is unbelievable. I want to make the last tie though, Mike. DAs get to choose. In Massachusetts, unlike any other state in the United States of America, in Massachusetts, DAs are responsible for homicides from death, from the minute there is a death, all the way to sentencing. In other states, we don't get involved until somebody is charged with a homicide. In Massachusetts, the reason you would see me on TV all the time is the night of the homicide, we show up, right? Because ultimately, remember, the homicide unit, there's only a couple of cities in Massachusetts that can handle their own homicides. Boston, Springfield, Worcester are three of them. That on their own, those police departments are qualified enough to handle their own homicides. In every one of the other 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts, the Mass State Police handles those homicides. That's why with John O'Keefe, the Mass State Police were in charge. Proctor was in charge of that, or was a trooper, was looking into that homicide. When you're the DA, so I had a Boston Police Department homicide unit that, even though the Boston Police pays their salary, they don't get to be in that unit without me, the DA, saying, I choose you. Now, remember, I inherited some from Dan Conley, but I had a rule. Every single person that comes into this unit has to meet with me, and I have to say yes. And that wasn't the way other DAs did it before me, right? They just would delegate down to their homicide chief or something. I said, absolutely not. I have to look in the eyes of each person. And with the state police, we have the homicide unit and narcotics that I would meet with every one of them and ask them questions about, why do you want to be in this unit? What's your background? I would ask to see their internal affairs. I'd ask about complaints. I wouldn't share what they told me, but I'd say, I don't want to find out when you F up, right, that you hate women and whatever else. Just tell me. It's not going to be disrespectful to me. You could just work somewhere else. You're just not working with me, right? Or, you hate Black people, but you want to work in the homicide unit at the Suffolk DA's office, and 80% of our homicides, or 85, are Black people, unfortunately, right? Why do you want to work here? Is this about you, or is this about the community that you are trying to assist and get answers for? So I just think with Morrissey and Proctor, it is important for us to point to Morrissey and say, you chose this guy, right? You chose this guy, and you either looked the other way. Because remember, somebody the other night, and I'm clearly working, fighting with people online in the middle of the night, which is never a good sign, but it makes me laugh, and I need to be better. But anyways, somebody was like, oh, stop being mean to DA Morrissey. He released the texts. and prove to us what and I said, he didn't release the friggin' text. He was hiding the text and demanding that Rosemary Scarpiccio and Yannetti and Jackson
Right.
file billions of motions. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it takes years for us to get discovery. What are we
And
talking
even the discovery we get too, like every single, like, because we've been broadcasting a lot of these court hearings, and we're getting dribs and drabs, and that's the
Man,
worst
it's
thing for
so-
him
and
too.
it's
He's so dumb.
redacted. It's so
Yeah.
redacted that it's like one half of a word. Like, is that a question mark? You know, you can't even, was it an S or a P? Because it's all redacted out. And so there's just this part in particular for me where I'm like, oh, really? So you can release all of my texts, right? Like between people that are on my personal phone. But Proctor, when he's talking about somebody's, you know, bloody balloon, I don't even know what grossness he was talking about, but
Oh,
like
the worst
Karen's
stuff.
in irritable bowel syndrome and, you know, like no nudes yet and planting cocaine on people, that's work product. That's private and confidential. No, it isn't. Right. And so it just proves to me, Mike, that there are clubs, right. There's
Totally.
like the ins and the outs. And when you're part of us, we'll fight for you. And if you're an outsider, we'll cast you away. And, you know, again, I'm not a victim, but there's a part where I think there's a misconception about me that it's like, oh, she's this progressive Democrat. I'm an independent.
Like
I've been
me, yeah.
independent my whole life.
Yeah.
I jumped in to be a Democrat when I ran for DA because I was like, oh, people are going to think I'm weak if I'm waiting for this street fight with the Democrats. And I took my earrings off, put some Vaseline on and said, like, I'm ready to go. Like, let's knuckle up, right? Like, I'll knock all of you out and then beat this fool in the general. And then when I left the DA's office, I was an independent again, right? Because there's some things I'm progressive about and there's many things I'm conservative about. See example, Tyler Brown shooting up Memorial Drive and me asking for 10 to 12 years. So look, I agree. I think it's repulsive. Prosecutors have too much power with respect to all of the evidence. Like, it's the equivalent of me doing this to you. Me walking out and with a pile this big of stuff, turning around and saying, here you go. And you saying, well, wait a minute, what was all that other stuff? Nothing to see here. You get this. And you don't even get to see this side. You just get this. And then I walk away and you say, but what's that? And I'm like, mind your business. Who gets to decide what all this is, right? And I used to fight with my staff because they'd say, that's not relevant. And I would say, but who are you to say what a defense attorney is going to consider relevant or not? Mike, it's not about winning and losing with trials because it's truly about a person who lost their life or a victim who needs, you know, us to fight for them. But I want to win when everyone is healthy, right? I don't want to beat, you know, the Knicks when Brunson and Hart and everyone else is injured and we're playing against the B team. I want your best five against our best five, right? I want to make sure. And by the way, it saves people money because then when all of the appeals come later on, it's not like, oh, whoops, we forgot to give you 3,000 pages of evidence that exonerates you, right? Like, we're just wasting taxpayer money by not giving the things that we're supposed to in the beginning to defendants so that they can mount a solid defense and we can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you did what we think you did.
Sandra Birchmore, which you
Yeah.
mentioned, Michael Morrissey, apparently, this is from Juna Perkins when she came on our show. She said that she was at a forum in Quincy, Quincy Dems forum,
Yeah.
and where she and the Morrissey spoke. And Morrissey had said at that meeting that he still felt that Sandra Birchmore committed suicide. This was like 6 months ago. At this point, the medical examiner.
He's a lunatic.
Yeah,
Stop.
the medical examiner's changed it from suicide to, I don't know what we call it, but whatever. They don't know is basically what it is now. Why hasn't he charged? Why hasn't he, should he charge Fawa? What's his issue at this point?
Yeah, I think what happens, Mike, is it's really hard to Well, as an outsider looking in, it is incredibly hard for people, I believe, in law enforcement to say we made a mistake, because it's almost like if you have multiple kids, right? And you're like, okay, fine, you can have a Whopper. And it's like, oh, you gave her a Whopper? I want a Whopper. And it's like, oh my God. So then the levee breaks, right? Led Zeppelin voice, right? The levee breaks and everyone thinks that they're entitled to something if you do one thing. So, but the answer can't be, so therefore everyone loses. We never look back. We've never made a mistake. So that's the thing I said is, Mike, there is virtually no other industry on the planet Earth that has a 0% error rate. Like the best doctors in the world lose a patient. The best doctors in the world have patients die, and they have medical insurance for it. They have malpractice insurance for it. So what I just find so hard is we dig our heels in so hard as prosecutors, as law enforcement, and refuse to admit we made a mistake, because then we feel like we have to think about all the work we're going to have to do. It was no different when I was the DA. Remember the Hinton drug lab scandal? Massachusetts is known for having not one, but two of the worst drug lab scandals in the history of the United States of America. Okay. So, and we had two equally crazy chemists, one that was just snorting and eating all the drugs, right? And the other one that was just so weird and wanted friends so badly that she would be like, I want to be like law enforcement and lying about false positives, right? Of drugs. But no oversights, because remember, it would be like Mike Crawford handled 13, drug analysis this week. Rollins handled 14, and this woman handled 108. Either Rollins and Mike need to be fired, or this woman is lying, right? Like no one was looking at the data. And when we tried to set up an initiative to go back and undo it, prosecutors from across the state were really mad at us, because they were like, now you're going to undo our convictions. And it's like, we only gain credibility if we are willing to admit, right, that like, hey, look, we think we got this part right. We got this part wrong, right? And we're going to work hard to regain your trust or whatever else. So I just think you're right. With Sandra Birchmore, I think the same thing with Turtle Boy, and it's hilarious because, I think if I saw Turtle Boy in real life, I'm not saying I would run up and, attack him, but we're not like friendly. But I will say, but for him, I don't really know if we'd be as invested in Karen Reed or know as much as we know about Karen Reed. But there's no way Morrissey is ever going to drop a charge against Turtle Boy, because then he looks like a complete failure, right? Like now he's at least able to say like, but I'm 5% competent. If he has to then say, oops, it's not a suicide, it's a double homicide. Sandra Birchmore, the current DA's office, additionally charged the death of her unborn child. So there are now 2 deaths that Farwell is responsible for, according to the feds, that Morrissey said were 0. Right. Remember in The Wire when Barksdale like allegedly hung himself on the back of it's like, it doesn't make any sense. And by the way, Mike, any woman that read that article, you don't have to go to law school with this. The second I read the article about her allegedly committing suicide an hour after he left, I'm like, he killed her. Right. Like what you don't even.
And when you see the video, that video of him with a mask on, an anti-masker, because he knew the camera was there.
Right.
It's so obvious that like just the little nuggets that we got.
Thousands of texts between them that Morrissey missed. So there's
how did they miss the text?
Like, that's what I say. And people think it's like, oh, you need to take accountability for yourself. Okay. But you know what? Do me a favor. Treat me like one of my male colleagues and let me just waltz through life, never ask me a question about anything I've done or the incompetence that I show every day. And by the way, I don't show incompetence, right? But like you effed up 2 murders, you've wasted all of our money, and you get to roll off into the sunset eating snacks and making $223,000 American dollars a year, $223,000 a year. That is over $200,000 a year that you are making to F up an office and do nothing. And nobody has called for your round, rotund behind to step down yet. It's outrageous.
Juna Perkins and Adam Deitch have, but I don't think Greg Conner has.
Yeah.
Should Greg Conner be joining Deitch
I
and
mean, I think it's tough
Perkins?
for him to do it because you gotta, he still works for this guy, right? But that's also something the people of Norfolk County are going to have to understand, and I think, do you pronounce her name Juna? Is that how you say it?
Juna, yep.
Juna. Yeah, I don't know her. I've seen a couple roles of her that I thought she did fantastically well at a forum regarding, Connor saying like, "Oh, I've actually prosecuted those homicides. There's not a single one." And she's like, Sandra Birchmore, right?
I love that.
I
I was
know,
drop
dude.
dead.
I was like,
I was like,
yes.
I love Juna because she comes on the shows. Like she answers the questions. These other two guys, they're not coming
Yeah,
here.
but that's
They're
the
not
way
coming
it
here.
works. Is like, so that's the other thing, Mike. I think that I like about. I don't care if people like me or not. This isn't. I like to say my friend bus is full. Right. If you run for office to make friends, you have bigger issues. Right. And by the way, I'm old. Right. I'm 55 now. This isn't like. Well, go ahead.
We're the same age.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
going to let my audience
you're not
finally know
old.
how old I am. We're not that old. Are we that? I say I'm old, but we're still not that old.
Okay.
We're Gen X.
I'm not that old, but I'm certainly not young. And what I'll say is, I do this job because I care about the people of Suffolk County. I think the office is fantastic, and I just believe it can be doing more. Ultimately, the people of Suffolk County get to decide what they want, right? But what is beautiful, and remember, I don't do anything unless I think I can win. This isn't just like an exercise in futility, right? But I feel like irrespective of outcome, the people of Suffolk County will be better because when you challenge incumbents, they step up, right? They start doing stuff they haven't done before. It's like, it's the reason why we're seeing Nick Collins in parts of Boston. And I like Nick, right? That maybe people haven't seen him in a while, right? It's a reason why we're seeing the current DA doing all this community stuff. And the community is going to have to decide, do we buy it or not, right? Like, and what's even better, the last thing I'll say is ask for everything right now, right? Because every single person who says no to you, remember it, right? When you vote. And I'm not talking about quid pro quos, Mike. I'm talking about ask people to come on the show, issue a questionnaire, and then say nobody answered, right? And then or only one person answered. And then it's weird because it's like, and we hate all their answers, but at least they did, right? So there's a part of that where I think the voters have a lot more power than they think they do.
Totally. I hope the voters get involved in all of these races, Norfolk County and Suffolk, because contested races, big time. I definitely want to talk more about your race, but I'm still caught up. I have some other Sandra and Karen questions. One of the ones I want to ask, because you hear this a lot from kind of the anti-Karen Reed folks, and they think that you started all of this because of Morrissey, that you don't like Morrissey, so that's why you listen to Karen Reed, that's why you looked into Sandra Birchmore. What's your pushback on that? Because I feel like that's probably not true. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your answer on it?
I think what I'm fascinated with is like there's all this stuff on the internet that's like, Karen Reed went to middle school with somebody that works in the office.
Yes.
And then one time ate at Roy Rogers, which has 2 R's in it. And so does Rachael Rollins' name, who loves hamburgers. And also, and I'm like, oh my God, really? I did not know anything about Karen Reed until when I was the U.S. attorney, until somebody in my office told me about what was happening with Karen Reed. So whether people want to believe that or not, that's what the truth is. 1, 2, I have always believed that irrespective of Karen or not, if prosecutors and police are involved in cover-ups, we don't only need to be looking at the underlying stuff, right? Like of the witnesses to the murder. But if law enforcement or prosecutors are not turning over evidence or actively involved in hiding things, I have always said prosecute them too, right? Like, and believe me,
what's the next question? Yeah. Should they be jailing Proctor? Should they be jailing Proctor too?
I cannot believe, right? As somebody, and we could talk about this too, right? Who people have no problem when it's someone like me saying like, let's find every single administrative agency in the world to look into Rachael Rollins. This mofo is still eating and rolling his way around, missing deposition dates, showing up 2 hours late. It's like, what is happening, right? Like, I've had judges yell at me. When I was U.S. Attorney, Judge Wolf, who's very well known in the courthouse, he left, right? By the way, apparently had some ethics issues, but nobody wants to write about that, right? It claimed he left because of Trump. Later, it comes out that like some investigation was looking into him or whatever, but he gets to get a big job at a law firm and land there wonderfully, but demanded that I come down. He famously did this to DA Mike Sullivan. I guess Mike Sullivan was at a dentist appointment once, like getting a root canal pulled, and Judge Wolf demanded that he come down to his office. But it's interesting that, there are people that have no problem pushing their power around for certain of us. And then others just get to sort of skate through life and be fine, right? And so there's a part where, yes, Proctor was fighting the civil service to keep his job. I think when he realized all of his emails were about to come out, he withdrew that. But the fact that like, okay, great. So the Post Commission says you can't be a police officer any longer. Okay, right? Like, I don't know what he's going to do, but I don't know, and I should know this, Mike, whether the Post Commission is only Massachusetts wide or if there's actually a national database about where all the police officers can go and what they can do. Thanks. I think you're seeing that like more of my children are running down the stairs. So anyways, all I'll say to you is just, I'm shocked that Proctor, there isn't somebody looking somewhere at this person, because there's a part of it, Mike, where it's like, how much money is this idiot going to cost us, right? Think about all the cases we now have to reopen and look at, right? Rosemary Scarpiccio now is defending somebody accused of murder. That's why all of these other texts are coming out, because thank God Rosemary Scarpiccio, great lawyer, is demanding access to that. Obviously, Yannetti and Jackson are now, or I don't know if Jackson's still involved, but Karen Reed is being sued civilly for the wrongful death, but is also suing others. There's the Turtle Boy lawsuit. We're going to be getting so much discovery and information. And now the public defenders, Anthony Benedetti, the head of our public defender system for our entire state, is now going to be looking into all of the cases that Proctor touched. When is it his responsibility to pay for all this crap and not us? Because our tax dollars, Mike, are going to be the money that pays for it. It's ridiculous.
It's going to be a lot of money. A lot of people, a lot of bad people could get let out of jail too. I mean, so
sorry, Mike, I'm going to mute you because I have to put
you have to answer something?
No, I think my laptop is, I got to plug it in. So give me 1 second.
Okay, no problem. So this is Mike Crawford, and we're with Rachael Rollins right now. I'm just going to look at you some of your super chats. Believe me, I'm looking at your questions. We're going to try to ask some of them. We haven't even gotten out of the John O'Keefe stuff yet. I want to ask her next about, does she think John O'Keefe will ever get justice? What are there's another question. I definitely want to ask. Oh, here she's back. I'm going to bring her up.
This is my Obama laptop. Sorry, it's like
your Obama laptop.
No, it's like
an old laptop.
Obama phones, right?
Yeah,
but it's just 3%. So I just want to make sure we don't lose each other. Okay, you were just asking. Yeah, I'm really happy you mentioned John O'Keefe, because I do believe Karen certainly feels as if, and justifiably so, I don't care whether you think she did it or not, but that the legal system didn't work for her. But then ultimately it did, right? Because she was acquitted of obviously the most serious charges. But, Karen has, thank God, a house that she could put up, family members that were helpful to her and willing to assist her. Sadly, I think she's no longer working, but it deeply impacts you. But she got instant justice, right? In the sense of years, but a not guilty verdict. There are so many people, Mike, as we know this, that have to wait 30 years to fight for their exoneration, for lack of a better word. But at the end of the day, yes, Karen is the face of this trial. But what's super sad is lost in all of this is John O'Keefe was murdered, right? Like by somebody who is still out there and hasn't been prosecuted. So that's the thing that makes me sad. And my hope is that whoever the new DA is in Norfolk is going to look, I get it. They're going to probably want to put a bow on this and have it be a chapter in the rearview mirror, a sad chapter, but a chapter nonetheless in the rearview mirror of Norfolk County. But John and his family still deserve answers, right? And they still deserve justice. And they haven't gotten it.
That's just a lack of justice, and a lot of us have just kind of gotten used to that there's never gonna anything happen. So hopefully you mentioned Turtle Boy earlier. He's somebody that, you know, back when I first met you, I didn't really like him, and then I support him quite a bit, and then I've had some issues with him myself. But I mean, there's a certain part of me that just thinks it's all bullshit that he's still being charged, even though I get, like, he did do some problematic things. What's your opinion on all of this and the fight against Turtle Boy?
Yeah, it does not feel good when Turtle Boy is aiming his turtle self at you.
We both know that. We both know that,
right? And I do think personally, you know, there are some below the belt kicks, right? There's a part of me where if you hate me and you want to talk about me and you think I'm an idiot and you think I deserve everything that's happened to me, that's fine. But my siblings, my kids, my parents, they didn't ask for any of this, right? So that's where I think it's a little bit much. You know, but at the same time, I will say, God, it's going to hurt me to say this out loud, Mike. I hate you, Michael Crawford. He's an equal opportunity asshole, right? Same thing with Howie Carr, where people are like, he's racist and he's yeah. Do I think he focuses most often on certain communities? Yes. But he also has no problem saying drain the swamp on other people too. My throat is burning from saying these things.
I think the difference though is Howie doesn't show up at people's houses.
That's true.
I love Howie. I'm buddies with Howie.
Howie's too old to show up at people's houses.
Yeah. Howie's cool with a lib like me, so or an independent. What know, that's what I call myself now too, an independent.
I do think there's something about Turtle Boy, as mad as he makes me, that I identify with, because I really believe, like me, oh my God, am I dreaming right now? I can't believe I'm going to say this. Mute this part out. But I think he starts by saying, hey, these people know each other in the Karen Reed trial. Everyone, shut up. No, they don't. Hey, guys, these people know each other. Ignore. Hey, I said these people know each other. And then he calls his friend who works, you know, at the police department and runs some license plates in the driveway, right? And of course gets in trouble and prosecuted for that, but proves that all the people that Morrissey claimed didn't know each other at all, know each other, right? And then there's this righteous indignation, because it's like, well, if you would just effing listen to me when I said it 8 times ago, why do you make me escalate to prove my point? And then there are people that say back like, but why do you always have to prove your point? I get it, right? So I see a lot of similarities with me where people are like, there's arrogance and there's this and there's that. And it's like, actually, no, there isn't. If you would just listen to me when I said it 6 times ago and didn't make me have to keep proving my point. And by the way, were you wrong? I was right? You know, like, so there's that piece of that with him, that it's like, you know, you shouldn't be yelling at people at their kids' lacrosse games. Okay, I agree, sort of. But it's also like, well, but you're covering up a murder, right? Like, so, you know, according to him. So there's a part of it where it's like, well, wait a minute. Where's the line that's crossed here, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have not, nor will I, because I'll never come out, dive down the rabbit hole of like all the things, because I actually have kids that I have to take care of in a job.
A life. Yeah, you have life.
Mike, I don't know if you're in there, but you're in the sunken place. I'm going to pull you back out, right?
Yeah.
But there's a part of it where I get his frustration, because he was right. You know, they did know each other. There was, and I get it. I don't want to have the anti-Karen Reeds or the pro-Karen. I'm not getting into the
you're just trying to speak the truth.
But here's like, what I'm saying is like, no one should be looking at the Karen Reed trial and saying, you know what? that's A+ police work right there. No one's going to say that, right? Whether you think Karen needs to be under the jail or think that she needs to have Norfolk County named after her and, you know, a statue erected in front of the DA's office on her behalf, or the Superior Court. So I just think that we could have been better, for sure.
And, the thing about Turtle Boy, do you think he'll be convicted? Because you're a former DA, you've seen how these things work. I mean, I know you don't know every detail of the case, so you're not going to be able to tell us. But
I think he has the public on his side. I wonder whether Morrissey will be decent enough to allow the new DA to make the decision about Turtle Boy, because there could be something. Now, granted, it will embolden him to, I don't know, turn into Turtle Monster or something. I don't know what turtles, you know, Donatello, or like shift into something.
Turtle Godzilla.
Turtlezilla, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I know, right? But
apparently he's been kind of soft on me, even though I don't know. I think he's been pretty hard on me, but go ahead.
But anyways, what I'll say is this really what we need to be focusing on right now, right? When so much wrong was done. You know, and that's the thing is I don't have insider information, but what we know is Turtle Boy has great legal counsel. The Norfolk DA's office is just, you know, in shambles right now, I think, because of a lot of different things, and they've lost credibility. I think I will go out on a limb and say I think he's going to be found not guilty. He would be a fool to take any type of plea, nor will he. I mean, we're not friends, but I'm like, oh, this dude is all in, right? As he should be, right? Make them prove their case, because he gets discovery. He's going to have insider information, I'm sure, right? That maybe others of us wouldn't have, you know, and that's the whole part of our legal system is like, prove it. You say that this happened, now prove it.
Question from another popular YouTuber named JFK Showoff, who's covered a lot of this. He says, do you think that they're going to try to convict Turtle Boy to keep the focus on Karen Reed as the murder of John? So it's like it's to kind of discount what happened with Karen Reed.
Right? Like they can't. So they lost fair and square, right? And remember, when the prosecution loses, there's no appeal. We don't get to say, oops, what about? No appeal, right? If Karen had been found guilty, there would have been years of appeals that could have been overturned by, of course, since it was not a first degree, but it could have gone to the Mass Appeals Court. Because it's Karen, it likely would have gone right up to our state Supreme Judicial Court. But I think JFK Showoff, great name, by the way, right, is right. Like, if Morrissey in particular, not the Norfolk DA's office, but the current DA himself says, you know what, we're going to quietly dismiss these charges against Turtle Boy, nothing quiet is ever going to happen. Turtle Boy is going to stick his turtleneck out with a megaphone, right? And like announce, I've been vindicated. As well he should, right? As well he should. And so they are gun shy, I think, regarding anything with respect to this. And they feel like they can't dismiss. I mean, that's the thing. You know, I dismissed a couple of cases when I became U.S. attorney. I had 3 exonerations as U.S. attorney of people that the office had, you know, ruined their lives, right? Like when you are indicted, when you are accused by the feds of something and there's a press conference and then, you know, you're indicted a week later and there's a press release and then they quietly want to dismiss the charges against you on a Friday afternoon in a 1-sentence motion and then no comment. That's what happened the first day I became U.S. attorney with
Sean Ellis.
This was Gang Chen, which was a federal case. Yep. But I just said, and remember, I'm meeting with the head of national security for the entire United States of America, and I said on Zoom, I'm sorry, wait a minute. You want me to what? A 1-sentence dismissal. But didn't you have a press conference when you thought he was a spy? Essentially, right? And thank God MIT didn't fire him. Like, by the grace of God, the president of MIT loved Gang Chen. He kept his job. A lot of other people were immediately dropped by their Harvard and other universities, dropped people in the China initiative. And I said, but you had a press conference and now you're saying we can't prove our case. Why would I do that quietly?
Wow.
Well, because that's what the Department of Justice does. And then
Yeah, that's what they always do.
Then you file it. Because you're not from here. I live here in Massachusetts. People know my name. It's called a pro hac vice, Mike. You file a motion. You know, if I wanted to file something in Florida, I'd have to ask to file it in Florida. Florida would give me permission, and then I could file a motion there. I said, you file it. I'm not filing it unless we write out loud that we made a mistake. And then I want to meet with Gang Chen and say, I'm sorry. And they were like, oh, we don't do that. And I said, well, that's what I do, right? Because when the government comes after you, right, and we're wrong, we love being loud when we think we're right. But when we're wrong, it's like you're a bully. You're a bully
Balance.
who then doesn't, and bullies only learn, we know this, when you get punched in the face, right? Or when you are held back accountable to what you're doing, right? And I'm not advocating for violence, but like the government is a billion-pound gorilla that when they F up, you got to make sure they're held accountable too. And I think a lot of my actions when I was U.S. attorney of making sure we did stuff like that was part of the reason, you know, that like the way I left certainly was not on my vision board. But I do think, you know, people get to stand and hold firm on what they believe was right. And then hopefully have enough growth to say, clearly I would not do that again too, right? But Turtle Boy doesn't have to do any of that until the ruling comes out. I say he's going to be found not guilty. I just wonder whether Morrissey's going to, I don't know when the next date is, but if Morrissey's going to try to get this done before he leaves, or if he's going to punt it to the next person, and we'll see if they dismiss the charges.
Motion to dismiss hearing, I believe, in July. It's supposed to go to trial either October or November, but who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
It's been delayed quite a bit. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I think anytime you go to court, it could be, especially for him, it can be a risk, but I think he's got better chance than most.
I certainly
Just like you
do
said.
too.
Yeah, because of who he is and what he. Josie Lou is asking. I ordered approximately 8,300 pages shared under FOIA recently, all related to Karen Read. If you were the DA in charge, would you welcome a citizen's chronological order of corruption and its nexus if related to your state?
Yeah, I mean, so I would like to ask Josie Lou back. Did they tell you you had to pay for those 8,300 pages? Like what public offices love doing is pretending like, oh, we're so transparent. Just file a public records request or a FOIA request. And then they email you back and say, okay, there's 83,000 pages. It's going to take 1,600 hours for this one employee to look through the whole thing. They bill out at $50 an hour. So send us $52 million and we'll give you the, you know what I mean? It's like, well, I don't want to do that. I think personally with Karen Read, because the case is so explosive, because it has cost taxpayers so much money, I would want to make sure that I was meeting with sort of thought leaders that included community. I'd want pro and anti Karen Read people, not just, you know, and then also some of my colleagues, or we'd look at sensationalized cases around the country. And I'd want to see if there was, we've gone through the record, we've culled it, you know, you got to make sure you do redact for some private personal information, right? And then I don't think I'd have the community have to pay for that. I think there'd be, these are the public records in the Karen Read trial. Oh my God, the audit is done. She's right.
She did it herself.
Josie Lou, if I win, we're hiring you in the Suffolk DA.
She's amazing. She's like a Fed too.
What the hell?
She works with some different federal agencies allegedly too.
Yeah,
She's
okay.
she's an analyst. She's something, I'll tell you. Yeah, July 20th, Scott is telling us, is the Turtle Boy motion to dismiss. So that's upcoming. I mean, we have so many questions here for you. We haven't even got to your race.
The trial is scheduled for December. What if it goes? So remember, Morrissey's in office until January 4th, I think, unless somebody grows or has the testicular fortitude to demand that he leave, right? Like some of the electeds in that space. my God, what if the trial, it's going to be, this is going to be so good. Or if he wins the motion to dismiss, right? If Turtle Boy does, right? And then it's gone. I wonder, who's the judge? You're pulling me back.
I forget the name. I forget. I know.
Every time I try to get out, is Michael.
I don't want to try to. I was going to say Gildea, but that's the civil trial. I don't know. I'd have to remember because there've been so many judges. It's a guy judge.
Okay.
He's from Norfolk County, but he's in Suffolk now. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll find out. Let me find out.
Yeah. Someone will say it in the chat. They'll as soon as they catch up with the video, they'll be letting us know the name of the judge again in Turtle Boy. But here it is. Belezos.
Yeah. Okay, I know him. All right, that's interesting. So we'll see what's going on.
Is he going to be a good judge for Turtle Boy? It used to be Doolin, but now it's Belezos.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. What the duck? Why are the names so great of the people that come?
I know. We have a funny community. A lot of times people have to protect their names because they're worried they're going to get doxxed by the different sides in this.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone's doxing each other.
I got to do better at that.
That's why I just put my address out there, let everyone know where I live. So show up, see what happens.
Yeah, right.
I'm a wrestler. They know. So anyways, there's a lot of other questions. There's one that came in about Epstein. I mean, I'm like, what the hell is this one? Have you seen this? It says, Rachel, your name is in the Epstein files. You received an email regarding Jeffrey Epstein and Justin Fairfax. You were asked to investigate allegations of SA. Did you investigate them?
So Fairfax, I definitely did. And remember, for your listeners that don't remember who he is, that was the lieutenant governor and make sure 1984 First Christmas. Oh my God, is that George Michael? I love George Michael. I
do too.
I believe the lieutenant governor in Virginia, who sadly just murdered his wife and himself in his home with his children there. So
holy crap.
So there's allegations, remember, that Fairfax engaged in an alleged sexual assault, I think, at the Democratic National Convention or something that happened in Boston when I was the DA. I issued a letter about it to say we were going to reach out. The person, my God, I can't believe I can remember all this. The person made an allegation like on the internet, but never notified law enforcement. Right. And so look, I'm not deciding who I believe or not, but it's a very different thing when you accuse somebody of something, but you don't use the legal process, which requires certain things. Right. When you file a restraining order against somebody, you have to file an affidavit. You have to go before a judge. The person isn't there, but the judge has to hear what you say, and you have to at least meet a minimum standard. The judge can move forward with the restraining order or not. And if they do, they then give you 10 days to have the accused come in, hears both, and then the judge decides whether it moves forward. If you make an allegation of sexual assault, there has to be a little bit of a vetting before the prosecutor decides we are going to move forward with this and file a charge against somebody. So I believe I wrote a letter to the victim to say, you have made these allegations. You have never come to law enforcement. If you are interested as an alleged victim in moving forward with this process, we can't force you to, but we are here if you want us to start this process. And they never came forward, right? So I'm not saying that doesn't mean it happened or that it does mean it happened, but that's how I was involved. I don't know what I'm told about with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know whether he is alleged to have assaulted somebody sexually in Suffolk County. I think that's the only way I'd be involved. I certainly was never invited to the island. I'm way too old to be somebody, that he would have any interest in, is from what I know about him, having read. But let me know how I'm in with respect to that. But to answer the other one, that's the Fairfax tie.
We have a question about someone else who has been on the show before, Ricardo Arroyo, and I should say I like his bro E-Rock. Yeah. I like E-Rock a lot. Ernesto.
E-Rock is the best. And you know what's
him.
Funny is I've said to Ricardo and Felix and the father in years past, E-Rock is my favorite, hands down.
Me too. You know why? Because I met him through music. So I booked his hip hop act way back in the day on the Hempfest. I love him. And I had the first show we ever had on the Young Jurks. E-Rock brought in Felix. That was the first show we ever
Oh,
had,
I
which was
love
Felix.
that.
So I love Felix too, and I
So
love
D,
E-Rock, and he
yeah,
was the star. E-Rock, even though Felix is the office holder, E-Rock like stole that show. I gotta say, like he's just amazing.
E-Rock is my favorite. So D
Me too.
Deli, Ricardo, let me start in the beginning. All of the Arroyos went to Brighton High School. My dad was a guidance counselor at Brighton High School. So my family has known the Arroyos for a long, long time. And then I came into politics. Obviously, the Arroyo family with the dad had been in politics for a while. I met Ricardo when I was running for office, but we felt like old friends because our families had known each other for so long. But like, I think our friendship started then. And obviously, you know, Ricardo is entangled with me with respect to the Suffolk County DA race. The only reason Kevin Hayden, I would argue, you know who that is because I chose to leave the DA's office to become the U.S. attorney. Had I not, oh my God, this is full blown Rachael Rollins. He would still be at the sexual offender registry losing sexual offenders, right? Those aren't my words. That's Auditor Suzanne Bump did an audit of the sexual offender registry, and like 1,000 sexual offenders were missing, or we didn't know where they were when Kevin was running that office. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what now? Right? So Suzanne Bump checked the audit. Ricardo and I, yes, were texting when I was the U.S. attorney, on my personal phone when I was not, you know, doing my U.S. attorney job. I, like all of you, read the newspaper, or I probably read maybe a little bit more than you guys. Every morning at 4:46, I read the Globe and the Herald and all the other papers. And I was seeing all these crazy things going on in the Suffolk DA's office. As a result of all of that happening, OIG investigation, other investigations, and allegations against me. When I resigned, and I'd love to talk about sort of why, certainly the OIG investigation was hanging there, but there were a couple other things going on as well. I sort of went underground, and forget about Ricardo Arroyo. I really didn't talk to many, many people. But I have no disrespect to Ricardo Arroyo. Anything that I was held responsible is my fault, right? Is my responsibility, not anyone else's. So, you know, I think our Ricardo and my relationship is fine. But I would say, you know, not talking to him probably as much as I was in the past, but that has nothing to do with him and more to do with me sort of focusing on running for office. So, long answer, but I wanted to make sure you got the whole part of that. Wait, Mike, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. I
I'm
do that
like,
once
wait
a
a minute,
show.
what's
You
going
got
on?
me.
I see your
It's
your
me.
mouth.
It's
Oh, go
me.
ahead.
It's me. My moderator Sarah is gonna have so much fun on this because I haven't muted myself in a long time, and
Okay,
that
go
was a
ahead.
long mute. She counts how long it is. So I had a question about you know, basically looking forward to this race, because this was the big one, the race that you're in right now. There was a cop shooting of a fleeing suspect. It's become kind of a controversy. I know you've made some statements on it. My big thing on it is I don't feel like I know what to think on this because there's no video. We haven't seen the video. I have no idea what's going on. How can we make any commentary if we haven't seen the video? What do you think about this? And what is your criticism? You kind of made some criticism already about the current DA.
Yeah.
Why should people vote for you over him?
So let me take that starting at the beginning question. What a lot of people don't understand, yes, curious about DA Rollins' stance on Officer O'Malley. So what I've said, I was just on Dan Ray, conservative radio show, because we go anywhere, right, Mike? So here's my thing. The police, when they are on duty responding to calls or witnessing crimes and acting in their official capacity as police officers, I believe deserve the deference of a grand jury process. Okay? So remember, if Mike murders somebody and I'm the DA, I can walk up and say, we think we have enough. We're going to charge Mike by complaint. Okay, which, let me just stop. That means an affidavit and a police report signed, and you go in front of a judge, right? Who then says, okay, probable cause, wonderful. You can move forward with the complaint. When it's a homicide, that complaint, you must go in front of a grand jury as well before you get into Superior Court. So the grand jury is basically the gatekeeper of Superior Court cases. You can't get in there without a grand jury. I think with the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association, they were mad about two things. I think, first of all, they believe O'Malley never should have been charged at all because Stevenson King is a person who carjacked a woman. He punched a woman in the face, jumped in her car, stole it, and drove off. And then after the police get a 911 call about a carjacking, show up, order Stevenson King multiple times to stop the car, put his hands out the window, put the car in park, all the things that he won't. He's ramming back and forth on a narrow little street. O'Malley allegedly says, I'm going to effing, listen, gives the order, thinks his partner is in danger and discharges his firearm multiple times. Stevenson King dies. That happens, I believe, on March 11th. 8 days later, the DA, the current DA, says, and this is his words, not mine, after a thorough investigation. So already I have an issue, because in between March 11th and I think the 19th was a weekend, which is a Saturday and a Sunday, and St. Patrick's Day. So let's take those three. It's Boston. We got to take those three out, right? So 5 days, right? You did a thorough investigation. Point one. Point two, the DA controls the grand jury. A lot of people don't know that. So any bullshit, bull poop that somebody says, oh, we got to get in front of the grand jury, it's so packed, we have to wait in line. No, you don't. In Suffolk County, we have multiple grand juries up at once. What the DA could have done was said, I'm wiping everything out of this grand jury. You can use the other one or the other two. This is the O'Malley grand jury now. Nobody gets to go in. Who's going to tell me no? Or DA Hayden no? What? The head of the homicide unit? No, get out of here. You report to me. You're now in this one. And this is it. This is the most important thing we're doing. DA Hayden charged by complaint after 8 days, and then 70 days later, the grand jury indicted. And a lot of people like to say, oh, well, he was right, because the grand jury could indict a ham sandwich. Okay, so, and guess who else was indicted by a grand jury? Karen Reed, right? I'm sorry. Yeah. And she is what now? Not guilty, right? So indictments, yes, they are a part of the process. 23 regular people get to hear the prosecution's version of the case without a judge, without a defense attorney, without any objections, and without any interruptions. And they only have to prove probable cause. They don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's a lot of information to hear. But the DA charged by complaint, O'Malley's lawyers and the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association lose it and go nuclear, so much so that the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association asks for people to run against the current DA. They put out a want ad. And two, the defense attorneys, who, by the way, O'Malley has who? Yannetti, one of the greatest criminal defense attorneys. Let's take a moment and say Yannetti is defending Karen Reed, who's accused of killing a police officer, and O'Malley, who's a police officer accused of killing someone, right? So they have Yannetti representing O'Malley, and the lawyers saying Kevin's doing this, the current DA, because it's election time. What's really fascinating to me is I would have absolutely waited to go to a grand jury. I would have expedited it, but I think O'Malley deserves the respect because he was doing his job. This is not O'Malley's drunk. I don't want to disparage him. Let's say this is not some police officer off-duty drunk who pulls out a gun and claims, oh, I saw some. That's off-duty conduct, right? This is, O'Malley was not probably didn't even know who Stephenson King was. He answered a 911 call, was in a heightened situation where he believed was life and death with a violent individual that was not responding appropriately to instructions, right? And in fact, was becoming more and more, according to O'Malley, aggressive. He deserved at least the right to put it, or the respect of putting it before a grand jury before me or any DA makes that call. So that's one. Two, Kevin Hayden has the right to do whatever he wants as the DA. He can charge by complaint. What I'm disappointed with him about, and where we differ, is he can also say, I'm not releasing the video. But what he needed to do was not have a secret invite-only meeting to explain his choices, because in my opinion, people who have nothing to hide nothing, right? So put your shoulders back and your chest out and look at people without holding a sheet of paper. You know, when he talks, it's like, that doesn't instill confidence in anyone, right? Look at people and say, I'm not going to talk about the specifics of this case, but let me explain to you what happens every time an officer-involved shooting occurs in Suffolk County. I have 4 people that handle these type of cases. All of their other cases are wiped out. Between them, they've tried over 150 homicide trials with over a 95% success rate. They do this, they do that. We're going to look at this. We're going to instill confidence in people that you look like you know what the hell you're doing, right? Because right now, the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association hates you, and the community of Roxbury hates you, myself included, because I live less than 1,000 meters as the crow flies from where Stephenson King lost his life. And I wasn't invited to the meeting. Only elected officials or people that pay, you know, give to the DA's campaign or his friends that are supporting him. That's not who needs to know what the hell is going on. We do, the people where the homicides are happening, right? And very candidly, so do the police, who one of their colleagues is being held to a higher account than other people, right? So I just think it's rare that these two communities that are usually at odds, the people in Roxbury and the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association, not always, we agree on some stuff, but equally are just as mad at this DA. The last thing I'll say is, if I were there and outside of my window put my phone out and made a video of what happened, you remember with Tyler Brown, the shooter at Memorial Drive, there's all this video of people showing Tyler Brown with, you know, a high-powered assault rifle jamming, shooting at people. They could have released that video, right? Like if I was live streaming and making some, you know, my kids are on TikTok and all this other nonsense all the time, if they were doing that and live streamed what happened, we'd all see the video, right? Other states have rules. Within 10 days, within 30 days, within 60 days, we release the video. Now, look, Mike, I don't think we release a video that actually shows Stephenson King losing his life. I think you can go up to the moment of the discharge,
what he was
or something
doing.
else.
Yeah.
But we don't have any written policies on this, which is another thing that drives me crazy about this current DA. Is like, now you want to write a written policy about releasing videos? Remember, Commissioner Evans, who was the police commissioner 3 or 4 commissioners ago, right? There was Evans, then I think Gross, then I think for a day or two White, and then I think Long stood up, and now Cox is there. Evans used to release video. So there's no, you know, ultimately the DA gets to control what happens. But the problem is when you don't have policies or you haven't thought through things, someone's always going to be able to push back and say, but what about when this happened? And you need to make sure you have the institutional knowledge, but also the backbone to stand up and say, look, I've thought through this for a long time. I get it. This is how it used to happen. This is how we're doing it now. And let me explain to you why we're doing it. That's the transparency that I believe this office deserves. And the difference I would have done, and I haven't seen the video, is that if the video was awful, I would have said, we are going to present this to a grand jury. I would have made sure the community knew that that's what we were doing. And I would have also let the police know. We also have the power to say to the commissioner, O'Malley loses, remember, whenever you discharge, there's a fitted team at the BPD side, a red team and a blue team that's deployed. If you discharge your weapon, they take the officer's weapon, not just the one that discharged, anyone else that was there. The officer has to go to the hospital to check on their mental health. There's a whole process of this. Hayden could have called Cox and said, I don't want O'Malley out on the street with the gun until I make this decision. There's so much more that could have been done. And then the grand jury could have started its process, right? That's likely what I would have done. Or if I thought it was reasonable, I would have made the tough choice to say, we're going to conduct an investigation. And we are sorry that Mr. King, lost his life. We need to be clear. He would have been charged with many felonies had he lived. But, the way our process works is that he should have made it to court, to be held accountable for that. We need to decide and see whether we're going to charge Officer O'Malley with his death or whether we believe that was reasonable, tragic, but reasonable, right? And you have to be able to explain that. So long answer, but that's what I would have done. And I think the DA just hasn't handled it well because he's not comfortable speaking to people. He doesn't want to have to be able to answer tough questions because I don't think he's thought through this long enough. And it's a tough job and it takes a lot of work. So that's how I would have handled it differently.
Totally. It seems like he had not enough transparency on it. Like you said, if you could have at least released some of the video, just showing up to that moment, I think that would help him a lot. And especially if he was just more transparent and forthcoming. Someone who's not also been as transparent, I'm hearing a lot of complaints from the BPAT, that accountability group for the Boston Police. They've complained about Commissioner Cox a lot. It's a group that Mayor Wu put together of citizens led by Evandro Cavallo.
Yep.
And they're not getting the answers. They're supposed to be almost like the post commission in Boston for police officers. Cox has not really been complying with them. And he also had this weird scandal with the Karen Reed thing where he talked to this junior brand new officer, had a private meeting with her before she testified in the Karen Reed trial. And then he basically lied. He said he hadn't talked to her, and he had. And it's a lot of weird videos we've seen out on this guy talking about it, Cox. What do you think about Commissioner Cox, too, and that scandal and his lack of accountability we're seeing?
Yeah, I am... I have read and learned, I'm trying to remember, I should know this, but I think it's not the post commission, but it's where, what is the name of the thing that he runs? Why am I getting so stuck on this?
BOPAT or whatever, BPAT?
No, it's not BOPAT. It's, I'll finish, City of Boston. It's going to drive me crazy and I won't be able to focus until I,
yeah.
Let me just see. It's called Police Officer Accountability, OPAT. Yes, OPAT.
OPAT, that's what it is. You got it right. Thank you. I was calling BOPAT. Yeah.
OPAT.
Yeah, that's okay. OPAT. So exactly. That's what I was talking about.
This is the tension, right? So Mayor Wu obviously appoints the commissioner, right? The two biggest roles that Mayor Wu has, or people that she appoints, are the superintendent of schools and the police commissioner. Obviously, the Boston Housing Authority and all of the sort of real estate stuff is enormously large as well. But commissioner and superintendent are huge. The problem with OPAT is the power they have is just to suggest, right? And then the commissioner gets to decide on his or her own, now his, whether they want to even listen or not. So there's people, and again, I think OPAT has not, this is not my opinion. I've been reading articles about this. OPAT has done very little in the time that it's been around, right? Because it's not a powerful entity. Even though they do have the power, for example, to subpoena records and documents, the issue is OPAT's power is exclusively civil. And remember, Mike, like nobody has to go to law school for this, but the easiest way about lawyers, right, or laws is the first question you need to ask, is this criminal or civil? Civil is give us your money and stop doing that. Criminal is we can take your money, make you stop doing that, but we can put you in jail. OPAT is exclusively civil and administrative, right? They are underneath the city of Boston. They do have some subpoena power, but they never trump a criminal investigation, right? So they have to sort of wait in line until all of the criminal stuff, if there is any, is happening. We also need to figure out, where does OPAT fall in the line of like internal affairs, right? Or any of the other things that the Boston Police Department does. And Mayor Wu has the power, right? OPAT's weakness, and this has nothing to do with Evandro or Stephanie, who used to run those places before, is a function of the mayor deciding whether she wants to give them more power or not, right? So this is not disparaging, it's just factual. If people are mad at Commissioner Cox because he's not listening to Evandro Carvalho, Evandro can speak to Mayor Wu, or people need to speak to Mayor Wu and say, well, stop saying I leave it to the commissioner. You control both of these entities. Give them either equal power, or make there be a third entity where when Evandro says we want to do this and Cox says no, does that then go to the mayor? Who gets to decide? I don't know. But what we have is an internal logjam that people are pretending they don't know who the leader is of this. It's the mayor, right? So I'll give you another example. Like, I hate every person, Mike, that comes out of jail or prison that tells me, oh my God, I don't have my ID. I can't get an ID. I can't get my ID. I'm like, why isn't the governor resolving this? Remember, not just Governor Healy, Governor Baker before her, Governor Patrick before him, right? Every week, Monday, I believe, they have a meeting of all of their secretariats, of all the heads of all of their different, it's like the crime family that sits around that table together, right? So if the governor wanted to resolve this, incarcerated people don't get their IDs, the commissioner of EOPS, the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, runs the Department of Corrections, right? So all of our MCI prison systems is the head of EOPS. The Secretary of Transportation, who's sitting right next to them, runs the Registry of Motor Vehicles, right? When you are in prison or jail, we absolutely know who the hell you are. We fingerprinted you. I don't care if you have 50 different aliases, Mike. You could be Mike Crawford, Crike Mofford, Wyke Bofford. Like, I don't care, all the name, AKA, Young Jurks, AKA
Money Mike,
AKA JFK the show off, AKA What the Duck, all of your AKAs, right? We know who you are because we have your fingerprints. We get your DNA. We know everything about you. You're telling me that state agency can't speak to the RMV, another state agency, and say, and by the way, you get a DOC ID. So we have your photo, we have your DNA, we have your fingerprints. They could just speak to each other. So later on, and again, I get it. If you have 1,000 fines because you're a habitual, awful driver, that's a different story. Maybe you don't get your license, but can you get a mass ID, right? Or something like that. So that is very easy to solve. And I hate when people are like, yes, we need legislation no, you don't. You need a governor to say to these two idiots, look at each other and sit still, and let's find out how we can pass the DOC ID to the RMV to prove that. And then if they pay their fines, you get a mass ID. Did you hear all of those rhymes, by the way? Like, that was like spitting hot fire. But anyways, that's the issue.
An easy solution to a big problem for people.
Which is the same thing to me as OPAT, EPD, and them bumping heads with each other.
We come back to the same place a lot. I say Wu and Healy. They're both, they need to do better. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we've had a lot of questions today. I mean, we're like 98 minutes in, I think, or something like that. But we could be here all day. People are asking about the Morrissey video, we call it the hostage video. Do you know about that?
No,
with the Karen Reed?
What is it? Oh my God, what is it?
He did this video when Turtle Boy first started, and he basically got up there in front of these, like the law library with the books
Yeah.
behind him, and recorded this video, and it was like, "You stop harassing those witnesses. Colin Albert is innocent," and all this other
Oh my
crap, and it
God, I'm
just poured.
watching it right now. I
Yeah,
love
and
the
all it did was pour gasoline on it. Like that was the moment that like YouTube blew up. Instead of having like 5 shows covering it, all of a sudden there was 50. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, it was not only was it bad PR, it wasn't good for him. Like just
Yeah.
in general, like like what's the line on that? Because you are someone who's public and willing to speak. Like you said, you feel like this DA and Suffolk isn't doing enough speaking. Morrissey usually doesn't speak much, but that day he recorded this thing and then put it out, and it really bombed.
Yeah.
What do you think about something like that, especially before the Karen Reed trial?
Yeah. I mean, I think okay. There's a few times where this is going to sound like, oh, really? But where we got it wrong. Right. And so, oh my God, Mike, please ask Rachel what she thinks of Morrissey's hostage video. So here, I know, was it Proof of Life where he had like a date, a newspaper with the date on it too? So
Yeah, it's pretty much, we can play some of it. It's pretty funny, but go ahead.
We got it wrong a couple times where I'll never forget. There was like a Marine, I think, that one punch outside of the garden or the old garden, got in a fight, punched somebody once, they fell, hit their head on like a curb and died. And we were going to charge the Marine with, I think, manslaughter. And we presented it to the grand jury. And I say we, I mean my homicide unit. But, what happened was we got a no bill, meaning, so these are weird words, but when the grand jury returns an indictment and finds that the prosecution has met its burden of probable cause, it's called a true bill, TRUEBILL. If they don't believe we've met our burden, and remember, probable cause is low, it's called a no bill. So the grand jury no bills against this Marine, and I have to notify the family of the deceased. We're so sorry. We tried. We couldn't get an indictment. That doesn't mean your loved one's life, say all the right things, I believe. A couple months later, I'm reading in the paper that this individual is now court-martialed by the U.S. Marine Corps or the military police. And I'm like, lose it. I call my homicide person in my office and say, what the hell is going on? So we drop the ball and they can blah, blah, blah. And then I realized, wait a minute, they don't have a grand jury system, they being the military, right? They don't have a grand jury system, right? They just prosecute people. And remember, a grand jury is different than a trial jury. They do have a jury system, but they don't have to clear that burden of presenting to a grand jury before they find somebody, indict somebody and move them forward. And then the military standard of like wrongdoing, you think we can indict a ham sandwich, you could indict like a ghost, right? You could find anyone guilty, because my understanding is all of the members of the jury are also in the military. It's not like other people. And not to say, I mean, we've all seen A Few Good Men, right? People are like looking around and terrified that if they, rule in some other way that's not consistent with what they think, are they going to be brought up on, on charges themselves, right? So the standard was so much lower on the military side to find this individual responsible, that I had to be sort of talked off a ledge because I thought it was equivalent, and it wasn't. That's no disrespect to the military system. It's just different than the American sort of jurisprudence, non-military side of what happened. So, but I issued a statement, right? I explained that, I felt compelled to say we couldn't meet our burden, and then the military did. And to the family of the man who lost his life, I felt they needed an answer. what's funny is apparently I'm the only person that feels that or has that gene, because Morrissey does not feel compelled. Oh my God, who ordered the code red? You can't handle the truth, Kenny Powers 6505. Right. I watch, by the way, I watch that movie every chance it comes on. A Few Good Men.
Oh, it's a great movie. Great
So
movie.
good.
Colonel
So anyway,
Jessup.
so long and short is just there's a part of it where when you are proven wrong, there has to be some humility, right? And believe me, as somebody who people think, my God, do you have any humility? Like there's a part of it where that's what I think Morrissey's missing right now. Like, how dare you double down on, I still believe Sandra Birchmore killed herself, when the the Department of Justice has come in and is charging somebody for not one, but 2 murders, right? I get it. The feds don't call it murder, but essentially 2 deaths occurred, right? And witness tampering or killing a witness, you know, in furtherance of your crime or cover up or whatever. And additionally with Karen Reed, you know, clearly multiple juries did not agree with what your assessment was of this. A large swath of Norfolk County, you know, dozens of them all agreed. So it's just like double thumbs down, boo.
You know, it's you mentioned Morrissey again on this, and it's funny because earlier in the show you mentioned that, and I've noticed this a lot with women. You know, it's funny for me to say because I feel very lucky to be a white guy. Let's be clear, because I know that I get a lot of advantages in life. Even when I was a dog walker, a business owner, like I know a lot of people wouldn't trust me if I was a certain skin color. Let's just be clear. It's just a way of the world. And we do get advantages. And you mentioned that you get hit with looks a lot because you're a woman, which happens. I've seen it a lot with you. He finally got it. He did finally get it. They call him Meatball Morrissey now.
I love
he
it.
finally got some. But like you said, he hasn't been humbled by it. Like I got a lot of attacks this year. It kind of humbles you a little bit.
Yeah.
You have to be humbled. He hasn't been humbled at all. There was a video recently, like the Mass Fiscal Alliance or somebody like that was cornered him, and you could see he was still like the arrogant. He looked like a frat boy. I'm like, this guy's like a 70-year-old frat boy who's worked for the government his entire life, and he still thinks he's cool, even after all of this with the Meatball Morrissey. So I just think it's funny. It's like you think he'd be humbled a little bit, but he's not. You can tell.
Yeah, what's funny too to me is like he's like you know, I think he like sails and his hair is always crazy. So I call him Judge Smales sometimes. Remember Judge Smales from Caddyshack?
Oh, yes.
I love
my
Judge
God.
Smales.
He does.
No.
Oh,
so,
that's funny.
Yeah, Judge Smales, you know, and his, what was his grandson? Spalding. Remember his grandson Spalding?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Right, but anyways, yeah. Look,
That was a great movie. That was another good movie.
Oh my God, the best. The best.
I like when they smoked the Sinsemilla, Kentucky in the ground.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna get you in trouble. All right, yeah, I'm sure you have another thought on that. Josie Lou's throwing money at us. She says Guarino missed 32,000 text messages to cover for his buddy. How is that ignored? Delayed discipline promotes corruption. I mean, that's the thing. None of these people have really gotten in trouble beyond maybe, you know, suspended or lost their jobs type situation. You just wonder where some of this law enforcement, you know, catastrophe leads to charges. We talked about Proctor. I mean, nobody's going to be charged. That's just the way it goes, right? Nobody gets charged when they screw up things like this, right?
So that's the thing. I mean, I feel like that's how people lose faith in the system, right? Is that if there's qualified immunity for everything, how is this not outside the scope of your employment, right? Like, so there's a piece where that's kind of what gets me all the time. And I get it. I can be grouchy sometimes and I'm fine. And I know I can be like, you know, the skunk at the garden party a little bit, but whenever my office at the U.S. Attorney's Office would ever waddling in, I love your people. Yeah, Annie Dukin did get charged. You're totally right, and so did the other one, Farak, not Barack, Farak. So yeah, so I just think whenever my office at the U.S. Attorney's Office would start getting into this space of like, oh, well, we've never done that before, I used to say, do me a favor, just pretend there's some like Black people down in like Columbia Point, and we'll think creatively about how we're going to just wrestle them up and charge them with something, right? Like, so, again, and I don't, I'm being jerky because I'm sort of reverting back to the days of the 80s and 90s and like, Charles Stewart and all this other stuff when we just believed these swaths of people were wrong and we bought these lies. But yeah, I think it's really unfair that state troopers get to hear that they're going to be indicted or charged, retire first, get their full pension, right? Like there's a couple Boston police officers that have been involved in multiple wrongful convictions in homicides. People have lost decades of their lives. It's cost taxpayers not only the hundreds of thousands of dollars of appealing and prosecuting the case, but add to that the $1 million that the people get when they're exonerated from the state, and then the federal 1983 claims when they get $15 million for all the unconstitutional. That's all our taxpayer dollars. And these assholes are down in Florida, right, looking like Weekend at Bernie's and, just drinking and weird hats and getting their, what is it? Sunscreen, right? Like, so and you get a pension. It's like, and we're picking up the trash after you. So there has to be something that gives. I get it. I understand people's frustration. I really do.
We had a question about a name you just brought up, the Stewarts. Attorney Rollins, were you a recipient of the scholarship set up by Carol Stewart's family?
I was. Carol DeMady. It was such an honor. When I was in law school, the Mass Association of Women Lawyers, I used to laugh because they're called MAL, right? Like, I won a scholarship. I won the Carol DeMady scholarship. They didn't call it Stewart, of course, because he murdered her. So they used her maiden name, but it was my honor. And then another thing, bringing that full circle, is when I was DA, it was, I think, the 30th year, sadly, anniversary of Carol's murder. And remember, not just Carol, just like Sandra Birchmore. Carol was pregnant when her husband murdered her. Christopher was born, her son, and died 17 days later. And what was really, I'm going to be super honest with you about this. It was sad to me because I wanted to honor the domestic violence part of that story, which was, remember, it was a double murder, domestic violence, homicide. But it was also, the Black community was really devastated by this because they were targeted when in fact it was a white piece of shit husband, excuse my language, right, that murdered his wife and just did it in Mission Hill and blamed a fake Black person for doing it. And remember, Charles Stewart knew his audience. He knew that back in
run with that.
Right. Back in 1989, people were going to run with this.
And the police ran with it. I mean, the Boston police, they actually grabbed somebody. They were like, oh, we got a likely suspect. We think this guy might have done it.
Willie Bennett. Remember Willie Bennett? And then the DA at the time, Newman Flanagan, called for the death penalty to be returned. And then, of course, never apologized afterwards when we all realized, thank you, because Matthew Stewart came forward, that his brother Charles orchestrated the whole thing. And then Charles, being the coward that he is, jumped off what? Not the
bridge.
The bridge.
Yeah, the Mystic,
right, or whatever the bridge was.
The one that's a Route 1, the one that goes to North Shore where I live.
So anyways, long and short is just, we were able to, 30 years later, for the first time in their lives, we had the Bennett family and the DeMady family in the same room. And remember, they are inextricably tied together. They have nothing to do with each other, right? But Carol's, both victims. I think, both victims. And it was crazy and just so emotional for them to sort of hear. And I issued an apology to the Bennett family 4 years before Mayor Wu did, right? Where I said, like, look, your family has been stained, right, with a lie regarding your alleged involvement with this murder, that there was nothing, you had nothing to do with that. And, you know, Mayor Flynn, who had been super loud, did show up at their house, I think, in the middle of the night, but never sat down and didn't make a public statement. And of course, neither did Newman Flanagan when it all came out that it was the husband. But yeah, it's such an ugly chapter, because I think what gets lost in all of it is that it was a double homicide, domestic violence, right? Like a wife and a pregnant woman was murdered by her husband. And, you know, Christopher is lost in all of that, died 17 days after he was born. And it's just devastating. But yes, I was fortunate as a law student to win the Carol DeMady award that helped me pay to go to law school. Yeah.
Something good came out of it there, you know, like that two families got brought together. I mean, that's a good, I'm gonna this is what we call speed round, because we're running out of time and there's a few more comments, and I want you to make your case for why people should support your campaign, how they can support your campaign. But let's just answer these quick, because you mostly have. Thomas Ross just says you're a disgrace. Says you started the whole bullshit conspiracy for Karen Read. You kind of did acknowledge this earlier. What would your response to him be on this?
Happy. Oh, wait, my dad was a Navy corpsman, Thomas, so I can't be that much of a disgrace, but you're entitled to your opinion. I don't believe I started the conspiracy about Karen Read, but I was the U.S. attorney when Karen Read's legal team sort of brought this to our attention. I will own that. You know, if you live in Suffolk County and you are not interested in voting for me, I just ask that you vote on September 1st, no matter what, because you know it's important. But I'm going to put it out on a limb that I bet you don't live in Suffolk County, but up to you. Thank you for your comment.
This one, they were wondering if you were kind of supporting Connor. I don't think you were, but do you support Connor? This is Greg Connor?
Greg Connor? I don't know Greg Connor. I don't. I am obviously alive like the rest of you. I think I only know a few of the people in the race. Obviously, Adam worked in the U.S. Attorney's Office. I know him. I don't know the other woman, but she worked in the Suffolk DA's office. I know Connor works for Morrissey currently. Is Macy Lee?
He actually resigned. Connor did resign. Macy Lee used to work in Suffolk, I think.
Yeah,
or
I
something
worked
like
with
that.
Macy Lee. So I do know Macy Lee. So I know a couple of, I was the DA when Macy was in the DA's office. I don't have a finger on the scale. I think some people are more qualified than others in that they have led units in a DA's office. But I also think, you know, being close to the current administration, how much are you going to change? Do we really need an outsider? And like I said before, you know, maybe people care that somebody has been a supervisor before or not, but I do think we need to ask questions, right? Norfolk County is not as big as Suffolk, but how many cases does Norfolk County handle a year? How many prosecutors are in the office? How many employees total are in the office? How many different locations are in the Norfolk County DA's office? You know, is it just Canton? It's not, it's Stoughton. How many different district courts are there? If you've never run a really important, had an important job with respect to life and death, is the DA the first one you want somebody to be, right? So make sure you're asking the right questions, Norfolk County, and demand that they show up for some damn forums or debates. It's like Kaylee's comment. You only get us every 4 years, and then we go back underground, right? And who your DA matters. See example, Karen Read, Sandra Birchmore, all these other things, Officer O'Malley, everything that's going on right now.
You've been through quite a bit. You know, you were the DA, and then you were the U.S. attorney. And like you said, like some of the allegations against you, people are like, you should have been jailed and all that. I just look at it funny, because I just say, like, look at all the stuff that Trump people get away with now. Yeah. But like, because some of the stuff I think was kind of minor shit. Yeah. But what do you think? Like, and what's the response on the campaign trail? Because you're running for the same office. People know you. They know what's happened. A lot of people. how are people reacting on the campaign trail, and how do you expect to win? Because I see some of the people that used to support you don't support you anymore. What I'm seeing on social media, some do. I'm just wondering how it's going. What's your pitch to them?
Yeah.
Why should people vote for you? Why you're running? How do you respond to all of that?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is I am learning how to not take things as personally as I feel like I used to, right? Like, how do I expect to leave the DA's office and become U.S. attorney, and what? The mayor's not going to endorse anyone until because we're in love and she's not allowed. Like, what are we talking about, right? I left. Kevin Hayden endorsed Mayor Wu when Josh Kraft was running against Mayor Wu, and now Mayor Wu is endorsing Kevin, and it happened before I got in the office. Asterisk. It is important for people to understand Mayor Wu runs the executive branch of municipal government as the mayor. She obviously clearly runs the legislative branch because the city council can't do a thing without calling her. See example, the president
Budget.
of the Boston
Yeah.
City Council race, or the budget where she's having secret meetings. And now the DA allows you access to the judicial branch. So go back to, like, Schoolhouse Rock, and remember how our three branches of government work. Our mayor is now going to control all three branches of government. She controls her branch, the executive branch, the legislative branch of the Boston City Council. And now we don't have a strong DA. No disrespect to Kevin. When you look at him, and if you feel confident looking at him, you deserve and please vote for him, right? But I don't, right? And not just because I'm Thanos, right? But because I've seen him and I don't feel like he exudes confidence about what he's doing. He's made too many mistakes. The fact that he now will not be able to do anything without checking with the mayor first is a major problem. You need a DA that is autonomous, right? You need a DA that is able to make tough decisions. And the best example of that to me is in the budget for the city of Boston, where the mayor was going to cut youth funding. Remember, there's all this talk. It's an impossible job the mayor has. When you cut anything, people are mad, but you need a DA that's going to quietly say to you, Mayor, I get it. Veterans, everyone deserves money. You can't cut youth jobs if you keep saying every day we're the safest city in America, right? Because when you cut youth money, there's going to be an uptick in shootings and violence, period, end of story. And if the mayor doesn't listen, then you need to put your shoulders back and say that out loud. You can say, we agree on a lot of things. We don't agree on this. This DA will never do that because she's endorsed him. So I'll just say back, I think my spiel is, if I had done every single thing DOJ accused me of as the DA, there's no violation of anything, right? DAs can endorse people. They can show up at campaign events. We can get you tickets to the Celtics. We can get driven. I mean, when I was the DA, I was in South Carolina campaigning for Elizabeth Warren when she ran for president. It's not an ethics violation, right? So there's just different rules. And I would say back, all of the things I was accused of were policy violations or civil violations. And I find it odd that they did not sue me or fine me, which they could have done both. And I'll be Turtle Boy right now. They didn't sue me because if they did, they'd have to prove it, right? And they'd have to give me discovery. And I've received none of those things, right? So I get it. It was messy. I removed myself. I did not, stick a stake down and say, thou shalt not pass. You will pry this office out of my cold, dead hand. I resigned because I was exhausted. And I've also told you I had multiple death threats. It was just not handled well. Like a week before I left, I'm going to show you a document that has never been seen before. It's called A Threat Against U.S. Attorney's Office Employee or Family Members, right? May 5th, I got a death threat, which was a few days before I announced my retirement or my resignation, I'm sorry. And it came in at 10 in the morning and I wasn't told for 5 hours. An emotionally disturbed person called in and said, screaming my name, that I was a bitch and they were going to come in with a shotgun. And the fact, Mike, that I wasn't told for 5 hours. You know, I'm making fun of Morrissey for loving snacks, but like I had walked out and gotten Starbucks and was talking to people. And I'm like, I could have been murdered, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and, it was that day that I decided I'm resigning. Like, this is ridiculous. That was a Friday afternoon. Okay. May 5th. I put some stuff on a rolly chair in my bag and I rolled my stuff out. The U.S. attorney has a beautiful office and a secret elevator where I pass like 3 or 4 people only and go to the only elevator that I can use of everyone in the building, goes down to the basement. All the judges in the U.S. attorney park there. Monday morning, May 8th, Senator Cotton sent a letter saying, we have been informed that Rachael Rollins is removing documents from the office. We want an investigation, and accused somebody else in the office, high ranking, of wrongdoing. And it was hilarious because DOJ swarmed in, made sure there was no investigation into that person, right? And I was like, wait a minute, who's calling Tom Cotton of the 4 people I passed in my executive suite? So there's just a part, Mike, where I'm like, why am I fighting to work in an office that does not care whether I'm alive or dead, that doesn't care about my kids, right? Forget about me. There were pictures that my 11-year-old, well, I'm sorry, Jesus, she was 9 at the time, right, had drawn that were on these people's walls that you don't even give a shit if I'm murdered, right? So I was like, I'm out of here. So I decided May 5th that I was going to leave. I'll give you Cotton's letter, right? I'd love to, right? And I won't redact out who the person's name is. You can have one guess. But like I said about the police swarming around each other and protecting each other, DOJ does the same thing, right? So I just feel like there's this misconception that I'm like some darling of the Democratic Party. I am an equal, like Turtle Boy, I'm an equal opportunity, like wasp nest kicker, right? Like I was vocal about Hunter Biden when I said, like, I'm sorry, what now? So we're going to look at Trump and say he's a piece of shit because he cares about his family. But Hunter Biden is smoking crack, lying on an application for a firearm, and has tax issues, and you're going to put together a package where he does no jail time. If Hunter were white and poor and lived in Charlestown, he'd be under a jail somewhere, or not Hunter Biden, right? Like insert any other melanated person that you'd be saying, get your ass in jail. So that didn't go over well. Or like I said, Gang Chen, when it's like, I'm sorry, we're going to have a press conference when we think this person's a spy. But now that we realize we can't prove the case, you want to quietly? No, the fuck I won't. We're going to be just as loud and issue a press release. Look it up. Press release about Gang Chen. We did the same thing for 2 Haitian people, Baptiste and Bonsi. So my issue is I can play the game, but when the system starts being unfair, I don't care if it's about me or someone else. I'm not looking the other way. So take it or leave it, right? Like, that's who I am. I'm proud of who I am. Are there mistakes that I've made? Of course. But point to me at somebody who hasn't. And no one's going to tell me I don't get to explain myself. I have to just lay down and die. Get the fuck out of my face. No, I won't. Right? I will stand up. I will look you in the face and then beat me. And let's see what happens. Right? And my money is always on me.
I definitely want that Tom Cotton correspondence.
Yeah,
Definitely be hitting you. I'll be hitting you up after this is over.
Yeah.
One thing I know, I remember you called into Howie Carr several
favorite.
times.
I do it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, are you planning on going on his show anytime soon? I'd love to hear that as well.
Yeah. I mean, if they ask nicely, no, I'd love to go on Howie. Like and I think there's some stuff Howie and I agree on, and there's some stuff we don't. But I think it makes for good. I think it makes for good discussion, right? And like, that's the thing I always used to love about being the DA is if you don't show up, I'll end with one of my favorite stories, right? So right after I won, the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association, right? May 5th of what year? May 23rd. May 5th of 2023. I'm sorry. So 11 days before I announced my resignation, I got a death threat. And I'll redact out the names, but I'll also give you a copy of the threat document, right? And then before that, May of 2022, a year before that, I had a death threat. I'm going to show you this one, which is like, oh my God. I blanked out my address, but it says, meet Rachael Rollins, Rachael Splain Rollins, first nigger U.S. Attorney, District of Mass. This was my home address right here, right? And that's an AR-15, multiple photos of me, and then a QR code. And right here it says the list. And when I showed this to the Department of Justice, my colleagues, the criminal chief, the first assistant, the U.S. Marshals, they said, yeah, it's not a threat. It's just First Amendment protected. Don't worry about it. And I was like, are you kidding me? That was May of 2022. In September of 2024, I got an unsealed indictment of multiple people in a white supremacist, like terrorist group that had threatened to kill three federal officials, a U.S. senator, a U.S. district court judge, and a U.S. attorney. I'm federal official number 3 in this indictment. You know, DOJ press releases, leaders of transnational organization. So
What's that? Which group? Do you remember which group? Are they like?
It's called the Terrorgram Collective. The Terrorgram Collective.
Those people are scary.
They're terrifying. And so, yeah. But do you think, and this is the difference between us, right? Like I was raised right. Do you think anyone from DOJ called me after this happened to say like, oops, I guess you were right about this?
No.
Right? So that's the part where like people are like, oh, she needs some humility. And there's a part of me that I'm like, fuck you, right? No, yeah. I don't, right? You don't care if my kids are dead or alive. Spare me, like me having to grovel to, no, this is about life and death. It's ridiculous. So I will just say, I think that the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association, I win my election back in 2018. I get there, I get a call, not Larry Calderon, the former president, who says, I know you won't come in, but you know, the guys want to speak to you. I'm like, tell me what day. No, the whole group wants to talk to you. Yes, what day? And he was like, well, we have a meeting tonight. I'm like, what time? I'll be there. He was like, well, don't you need to speak to your team? I don't need a team. So I have my Boston police detective drive me. My first assistant says, I have to go with you, right? Like he's from West Roxbury and he knows all the guys. So I'm like, I don't give a shit. Come on. We show up. I get in. The president's like, oh, Rachael, we'll give you 10 or 15 minutes. There's like hundreds of guys in the room. This is right on, like in Dorchester before you get on 93. It's right over near the local 103 electricians in that area back there. We'll give you 10 minutes to introduce yourself and whatever. And I said, I don't need 10 minutes. All of you know who I am. You're all trolling me on my social media with your fake avatar faces. And, you know, you're too cowardly to put your name up there as officer like Fitzsimmons or whoever you are. What do you want? Start asking. Silence, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So now that I'm here, you have nothing to say. I can take it. Ask me some questions. And to his credit, a couple of the guys are like, oh, you know, because there had been a girl who was 11, taller girl, bigger girl, who had shoplifted like $102 worth of stuff out of Primark. And by the way, Primark, that's literally 18 bags of stuff because stuff at Primark is like 3 cents each, right? So he was like, oh, you didn't prosecute her and whatever, and blah, 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 blah. And this is ridiculous and shoplifters. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. First of all, you have to be 12 in order to be charged with a crime. That's not me. That's our state legislature that did that. And number 2, a 225-pound security guard punched her in the face. Is that the reaction? Right. So what was good, Mike, was we took it. We went back and forth. There was some stuff I'm like, I didn't know that. Let me look into it. If that's true, I hear you, right? Like, and by the way, I'm willing to hear that the shoplifting thing was crazy. And I agree. I'm not trying to give people, you know, carte blanche to steal shit. But I do think we have to think more creatively about how we're spending our money and what we're doing. But at the end of the day, the best compliment I think you can give is like, I don't agree with you, but you showed up, you answered our questions. You know, like somebody just said in the comment, you got balls, right? And I think
It's a lot. That's what I like.
Yeah.
I mean, showing up. A lot of people don't show up. I want to ask you this question before I go, because if I don't ask it, he'll probably give me a hard time. Grant, are you familiar with Grant Smith Ellis?
I don't think I know him, but go ahead.
All right. He has a question. It's a long one. He says, can you ask her if she would still be subject to criminal charges for abusing the U.S. Attorney's Office to attempt to manipulate the 2022 Suffolk DA primary between Arroyo and Hayden?
Let me answer that question.
And there's also a second part on this.
Yep, I'll answer.
Why should anyone trust Rollins? So answer those two together, I guess.
Here we go, Grant. When the Inspector General accused me or believed there were two people that were interviewing me from the Office of Inspector General. And remember, Grant, the report is called alleged misconduct. So they're allegations. And by the way, it's not signed by anyone, which is also crazy, right? Like, so you get to make allegations, but not sign your name. That's not the way things should work. But they believed that I was untruthful to them. Grant, the Office of Inspector General has no power to prosecute people. They are like the FBI or DEA. They have to go to real prosecutors, not to be mean to them, but who have the ability to bring cases to the grand jury or do whatever. The Office of Inspector General brought the allegations that they believe I lied to real prosecutors who then said, show us the evidence. When they did, I think they brought it to them in mid-December. By January 3rd or 4th, it was dismissed. So with Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, Three Kings Day, and every other like holiday in the history of the world, a real prosecutor looked at it and said, we aren't going to prosecute them. Me. So yes, it was brought to them. That, of course, is buried on a footnote in the report. But if you need it, Grant, I can send that to you. I hope that answers that part. Why should anyone trust Rollins? I think there's a lot of people that still do trust me. I don't know where you fall, Grant, on a lot of the things we talked about. There are really strong opinions on almost everything, right? So Karen Reed, you either believe she did it or you believe she was framed. All I'm saying is, and I'm not saying I was framed, but I promise you, having led two of the largest prosecutors' offices of the three in our state, there's a lot behind what happens. Nothing is as clear as it supposedly seems. What I can tell you, Grant, is I had approval to do the overwhelming majority of the things that people said were wrong. I have to explain that to people and earn their vote and earn their trust. And that's what I would say. I never bribed Professor Medwed to get involved in the plot. He sent a letter. I didn't ask him to do that. I don't know if Medwed I don't even know if there's an ethics complaint against Dustin Chow. Dustin is the head of the public integrity unit at the U.S. Attorney's Office. He was when I was there. I'm assuming he is still right now as retaliation. So is Dustin in New York? I don't know. Grant, if you want to reach out to me on your own, I would love to answer these questions. Joss Levy, Bill Abda, testified against Rollins. I think that's accurate. Remember, Grant, I don't have any evidence or information from the OIG. So that is an example of how unfair the process is, right? Like if you were sued right now, Grant, you'd be entitled to discovery. That's what I said earlier about why didn't the Office of Inspector General, the Hatch Act is actually a civil law. So they could have sued me. If I'm the El Chapo of the Hatch Act, which they accuse me of being like the worst that ever did it, they did not fine me. And the Hatch Act has a fine provision, and they did not sue me. It's a civil law, so they could have sued me. The reason they didn't, Grant, is because they would have had to prove it, and then I would have gotten all the alleged evidence they have against me. I could have said, wow, that's interesting. So Josh Levy claims that I violated, blah, blah, blah. Didn't Josh Levy get the FBI to get him all of these free passes when he went to Europe? And I was looking into that. Or, that's interesting. Didn't Bill Abley, whatever the thing was that, like, that's the thing, is like, we had to file FOIA requests, a public records request, to get documents about my investigation by the Office of Inspector General. Last thing I'll say is, when I was interviewed 8 times for over 30 hours by the Office of Inspector General, I said, I'm going to tape this. And they said, you can't. And I said, oh, well, will I get a copy of your tape? They wouldn't answer. Do you know, I don't even have copies of my audio recording interviews from the Office of Inspector General. They gave me a transcription, redacted. So I'm going to put this in words you'll understand. Could you imagine if Karen Reed was told by the Canton police or the state police, hey, we know we interviewed you, Karen. We have the recordings, but we transcribed what you said back. Take our word for it. You wouldn't, right? So, like, that's the process that I was in, and nobody understands that, right? So there's a part where I don't expect you to, I'm not a victim, right? I will own that there are things that, looking backwards now, would I do differently? Of course, right? But what I won't do is say, you're not allowed to explain yourself. Just shut up and die. Like, that's not how the world works, at least for me. So if you want Mike to forward me the rest of the stuff, Grant, you have my social media. I'd love to continue the conversation with you. Whether I can change your mind or not, that's up to you. But I will answer.
Yeah, I know. And Grant, I think he might be very happy that you answered. Because and I did hit him up because I knew he would have some good questions. And
good.
So I thought that was good. I think he'd be happy with that. We'll see. I'm sure he might want to follow up with you.
We
can make that happen.
I'm up at 3 a.m. fighting with people on the internet. I'd love.
So it's Grant. Well, he's also got it's so funny. We have another comment here. I find it interesting. The OIG showed up to conduct an audit around the potential government grants. Corruptions were being discovered under your God-given umbrella. Coincidence? The heck happened to follow the money? I'm not sure what she's talking about. Maybe you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really interesting about it is, when I got to the U.S. Attorney's Office, not to give too much information, but like, I started January 10th of 2022. I had come from the DA's office where everyone was showing up to work, right? COVID was over. Right? I don't even want to get into, like, was COVID real or not with your listeners, but COVID was over, right? We were trying cases, and the U.S. Attorney's Office was like a ghost town. People were literally 3 to 4, maybe 5 days working from home. And I'm like, get back to work, right? You make 185,000 American dollars a year. My assistant district attorneys were making under 100,000, some of them, and working round the clock. That's one. 2, we had people, like, we had a librarian at the U.S. Attorney's Office that made $140,000 a year. Wonderful person as a human being. Nobody uses a library anymore. Everyone's online. And so remember in the movie, oh my God, what was that Michael Douglas movie with Sean Penn where,
great. The Wall Street. No,
not Wall Street. I'll yell it out at the end, but where it was all a ruse at the end. But it's like when you opened up the books, there's dust on them. Like, nobody's using books anymore in 2022, 2023. Everything's online. So
except I got them all. That's what I do. I got all the books here.
You're the one that's using all the books.
That's it.
So basically, it's just, I just look at it and I was like, we're not firing the librarian, but like, that's a lot of money that we're spending for something we're not using. Can we transfer this into paralegal work or something else? And I had to think creatively to finally say, well, then fine. We're going to do a survey and find out when's the last time anyone used a book. And then we took like 30 books that people had used in the last 10 years and moved them somewhere else and converted the library into a space that the office could actually meet. But like, we were spending $200,000 a year leasing a location that we weren't really using, right? And I'm like, isn't that fraud? The Game, I love you. The Game, Sarah. And
My girl, Sarah. She's like my number one over here.
The Game was
She's
the
my
best.
number one mod. I love it. She
She's
knew
the
it.
best. The
Go on.
Game. Right. So anyways, I'm like, let's think creatively about how we're going to raise some money or find some money in the office. Because what I really wanted to do, Mike, was create a human trafficking unit in the at the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I was told by everyone, no, we don't need it. Da, 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 da. We finally do it. 4 full-time lawyers. And I'm going to ask you, guess who has the busiest human trafficking unit in the United States of America right now?
Suffolk County.
Massachusetts, right? And nothing to be proud of because we don't want human trafficking. But it's sort of that thing where it's like, I think when I got there, I was rabble rousing a bit and it's really hard for people who think they're exceptional to hear that they have stuff to work on, right? And so I just think there was a part where, I wonder what happened with me being there, but at the end of the day, I still have such love and respect for that office, contrary to what anyone's going to say. I was raised there. I'm still very proud of the work that I did. And by the way, now I understand all the inner workings of the feds, right? And as the next DA, I'm going to know that the FBI can help us with unsolved homicides, right? Or when kids are missing, that the U.S. Marshal Service should be getting involved. Or every gun crime in Suffolk County, ATF needs to be involved in, and we need to be putting our information into the NIBIN database and other things like that, right? So it's just going to make things smoother, I hope, if I'm fortunate enough to gain people's votes and to get back into office.
Excellent. We've been over 2 hours here, 2 hours and 15
right.
minutes.
And then your last task is to make sure
it.
Howie calls me and will get me on Howie Carr. So
I will definitely. I can make that happen. I'm sure. They might even Howie might be watching today if he's not, getting some clams up in Maine or whatnot.
I love it. All right, good.
Yeah. So I guess what are your final thoughts, your final pitch? What do you want to tell people? And one of the questions people keep asking is how they can help you, because a lot of people are new to you. Some people are saying in the chat they've heard your name everywhere. They've never actually heard you speak, and now they love you.
Yeah.
So what are your final thoughts today?
That's the best part.
Yeah.
So
How can you help?
How
can they
How
help?
can you help? Our social media is or Rollins for DA, ROLLINS for DA. So find us on social media. What I will say is I don't do anything unless I think I can be successful. I really believe we have a shot at winning this, not only because I think I'm fantastic, but I do think the current DA is not, right? 1. 2, I think we have to remember challenging incumbents makes the office better, period. So irrespective of outcome, right? Suffolk County is going to win because 2 people, not just me, but a woman that also worked for Kevin for a little bit. And imagine how that feels. Somebody works for you for 9 months in one of your 14 different units as the number 2 person in that unit. And in 9 months thinks I can do it better than you, right? So, again, I think he has it coming from all different directions. But at the end of the day, Suffolk County is going to be better, whether I win or not, because they're going to understand what the office can be, what it can do, and they're going to hopefully see a better current DA who's more engaged with the community, blah, 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 right? And then, again, I'm not saying I'm casting, like being mean now, but like the current DA actually did interfere with the 2022 election. I'm accused of doing what he actually did, right? So he has a state ethics violation for interfering with the 2022 election and a fine. So there's nobody in this race that doesn't have a little bit of mud on them. I'm not saying we're the parade of horribles, but I'm saying look into each of us, see whether it's a non-starter, but give everyone a chance is all I'd say, right? And then it's our job to earn your vote. I hope I can.
That was one of the frustrating things about that DA's race, I felt like, is that you and Arroyo got so much crap, but Kevin Hayden didn't.
Yeah.
And he did shit too. So it's
Of
like,
course.
if
He
everyone
used-
did
he
shit, why did
used-
only 2 out of
Yeah.
3 get some crap out of
He
it?
used the Suffolk DA's office for
He
his
did.
own personal gain. He issued a press release about Arroyo, and I don't even give a shit if it was Arroyo, about his opponent, and leaked juvenile sex
He did.
crime
That
victim
was shocking to
information.
me.
I'm like, dude, are you serious? So like Mayor Wu endorsing this guy that's my thing. Is I'm like, I'm sorry, what now? I don't want to hear, and look, and I don't even mind Graham Plattner. Like, we don't have to get there, Mike. But it's like, so Morrissey gets to fuck up homicides, and human trafficked teen girls can be murdered while they're pregnant, and Morrissey gets to keep his job. Graham Plattner can have a Nazi tattoo and multiple subordinates on his campaign saying he's weird and sexting them. And Governor Healy can say he's disgusting and repulsive, but has my endorsement. This sort of righteous indignation, I think we have a more sophisticated electorate that understands that some things are truth, that some things aren't. We got to dig through and wade through the crap to see what's real. And that's my hope, is that people are going to listen, and then they get to make the decision. And that's what's going to happen on September 1st.
And that's why we have these conversations. And I feel like the Globe let a lot of people down, because I felt like they went hard against you and Arroyo, but not so much against Hayden.
Well, remember, Hayden's endorsed by Wu, and he's not a fool. He hired his comms guy, who, by the way, when Hayden got his state ethics violation, remember, the comms guy steps up and says, oh, no, it was me. It wasn't him. It was me. Which it's like, so you want us to believe that 4 days before this contested election, DA Hayden didn't read the press release about his opponent? Okay, so either he's incompetent or he's a liar. And then guess what happens? Days after Hayden wins the election, he gives his comms guy a $50,000 raise. This is real. Check.
Was that Jimmy Borghesani?
Yeah,
funny.
bolognese sauce or whatever his name is. Right.
I used to hang out with him because we worked together on the legalization. It's funny. Jimmy doesn't return my calls now, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, he doesn't have to. He's 50
I know.
grand.
He's
over
getting the
4
money.
years.
Good for you, Jimmy. I like Jimmy, but it's funny.
I don't think I can pick him out of a lineup, but like, that's my point, Mike. If those facts were affiliated with my name, the Department of Justice would have a satellite office in my front lawn right now. And they,
Right.
so look, all I'm
It's
saying
funny.
is I don't give a crap. We're going to beat him. We're going to be fine. Right. So we'll see you September 1st. Make sure you vote. Rollins for DA to get involved. And then honestly, I'd love to hear if you have suggestions, if you have criticisms, if you want to tell me to go pound sand. I love that too, because I think you learn from that stuff as well.
You've been phenomenal today. One of the things we said earlier in the show, before we even started, you said you were interested in taking calls. We kind of ran out of time because we've been taking a lot of comments and questions that way. But I would love to have you back on here and answer some viewer calls, have them actually call in.
Yeah. And now that we have each other's number and we're not in our DMs, you bet, Mike. And then thank you just for giving me the opportunity. I'm sorry I hogged up so much of your time, but
no, we love it.
Always a pleasure. And I appreciate the conversation as well, because it's stimulating and awesome. So thank you to your listeners, and even Grant, right? Like, it's anyone who everyone loves is completely full of shit and lying, probably, right? So like, I'm fine with that too. So I appreciate it. Oh my God. And Diana, hands down, my favorite elected official on the planet right now. I just love what she's doing. It's my favorite thing. But all right, I'm going to go deal with my kids that have been running around naked.
Thank you so much.
Mike, good to hear you again.
Yes, you too. Rachael Rollins, I really appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of your day. That was phenomenal. That was the one and only Rachael Rollins. She's running for DA in Suffolk County. Gave us over 2 hours, folks. Holy shit. Wow. I mean, I hope I didn't talk too much. I let her go. So, geez, I love you all. You asked some good questions today. I want to thank my audience, I call them long gamers now. I'm ripping off JFK, but you know who you are. I want to thank my long gamers here who stuck with me throughout this last 6 months, but it's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of kind of drama going around. But like I said, we're going to come around. We're going to get some great interviews. June, July, August. Wait, there's a lot more coming up on the show. This is one of them. Monday night, 6:30, we have another big interview coming up. Make sure you're here for that one. That was so much fun. That was a long time coming. That was Rachael Rollins. Again, we'll try to get her back on the show and maybe take some phone calls. BB Egan, thank you so much for gifting 10 Young Jurks memberships. I want to thank Josie. Before the interview even started, she sent me a 50 spot on Venmo today. Thank you so much, Josie. And then she threw out like another 100 plus down on the super chats. I'm just so happy about this interview. I can't wait to cut it up and throw some of it up on social media, some shorts. I think people are going to be into this interview. We're head-to-head against some like heavyweight competition today on the live, so I know we didn't get quite as many people as we should have, but we did. We had a lot of you here, and I know a lot of people watch us on Rewind. I want to thank everybody who threw down today, who was watching, who had the questions. I couldn't even read them all. You guys were just throwing so many questions at us. I wanted to ask this question. I forgot, DD. This was one of the ones I forgot to ask. I'll ask it next time about recovery. Great question. Sorry I didn't get to ask it. There were so many questions coming at us today. This was phenomenal. I want to thank you all. Sherry D, thank you for the 10 Young Jurks memberships today. Josie, again, Josie is the most generous. She gifted so many Young Jurks memberships today, threw money down on the Super Chats and the Venmo. Thank you so much, Josie. 1984, thank you so much. We did ask this question today. I hope you enjoyed that. What else? Did ask that one. Oh, I didn't put this one up. I'm going to put it up now. Patty Curran says, I hope Mike grows a pair before this interview turns into the Rachael Rollins show. What the F? Do you think it really was the Rachael Rollins show? I mean, my job is just to ask questions and let her go. I'm not trying to make her uncomfortable. Especially the fact that she comes on and spends 2 hours with us and answers every question. I mean, I asked the Grant questions. I asked the questions about Arroyo. I asked about her. I mean, I don't know. I think I did a good job, honestly. I mean, maybe I could have been a little more needle and been a little more aggressive and all that, but that's just going to force her to, get combative and then run off. Maybe not stay 2 hours and answer every question. I'd rather have an ongoing conversation with her, And I do plan to have some of the other candidates. I definitely want to have Linda Champion. She mentioned her several times today. Linda Champion is also running for Suffolk County DA, so I plan to have Linda Champion on, hopefully, as well. But I don't know. What do you all think in the chat? Did I not have any balls today? I thought I asked every question I should. I asked even about Turtle Boy. I mean, I don't know. What didn't I ask that I shouldn't have? Like, what was I scared to ask? I felt like with her, even before the show started, she was like, ask me anything. Nothing is off the table. I know there's a lot of stuff. You can ask me whatever you want. Like, I wasn't really afraid to ask her any questions. There wasn't anything that was off the table with her. So, I mean, my tone is nice, of course. When someone agrees to come on my show, especially someone like her, I'm going to be nice to her. And I do like her. I'm not saying I'm endorsing her. I'm not doing any endorsements. That's the one thing I will say. What else are we missing? I want to thank Mitzi for being a member here. She's been a member for a while. She also gifted 10 Young Jurks memberships. Thanks, JFK, for asking the awesome question today. We threw that one up as well. Who else are we missing? Josie, I think we got them all. Oh, someone asked this question about Kevin. Kevin who? Kevin's the DA. That's who she's running against. Kevin is the DA now in Suffolk County. Kevin Hayden. Rachael Rollins was the DA before him. Then she went to U.S. Attorney. Kevin Hayden took over. Now Rachael Rollins is challenging him. Rachael Rollins is the underdog. Kevin Hayden should win. He's the incumbent. Incumbents usually do win. But this is going to be a contested race, which I like. And I like what she said, too. I agreed with a lot of what she said today. The fact that she's outspoken. The fact that even if she loses this race, it's still good. It's still good to have contested races. I love contested races. It makes everybody better. No matter if the incumbent wins or loses, it makes everybody better. Everybody's better for it. The public's better for it. They know what the issues are. So I'm very appreciative of both Linda Champion and Rachael that they're running because it makes it a campaign. Kevin Hayden just doesn't get to get reelected, he's going to actually have to answer to what he's done, whether good or bad, right? So I like that. One of the things I do like about her as well is her bluntness. She's not afraid to say mofo. What else am I missing anything else here? Let me see. Sarah, thank you so much, Sarah. You always are great here. Sarah says, I love listening to strong women. I live in Rhode Island, so I can't vote for you, but I wish you all the best. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, BB, today for throwing down the 10 Young Jurks membership. What the Duck, thank you for being here today. Rachael Rollins, loved your handle. What the Duck says, great interview, Mike. You once again showed why you deserve a seat at the table. Thank you, What the Duck. Thank you for noticing. And this is, today's interview is just another reason why I am confident in what I'm doing here. Because I feel like I was the right one for that interview in a weird way. Like I was the guy. I knew all the background, all the history of it. And I don't think I kissed her butt too much, but I also didn't think I was adversarial. I think I was fair with her, and I just asked the questions. Free Bird Forever One says, thank you, Money Mike. Free Eddie O'Brien. No Eddie DNA on the weapon or under the fingernails. Eddie was framed. Rule 30. I'm coming any day. I hope to see that. I love what JFK's doing on that. I did see some Eddie O'Brien questions. I was thinking about asking it, but the reason I didn't is because I don't think she's familiar with that case. But she might be because she's been around. She's my age, 55. But it wasn't, it was in Middlesex. Cambridge is considered, I know it's close to Boston, Suffolk County, but it's actually Middlesex. Yannetti's the guy who maybe we should ask about that case. If you think about it, he was at Middlesex during that time. Or maybe Martha Coakley, if we ever see her kicking around again. But yeah, maybe I will ask that question going forward to Rachael when she comes on. But there was so much to ask today. There were other questions I saw that I didn't get to ask. That's the thing. You guys threw so many good comments and questions to us today. I really appreciate that. That's why I love my audience. And you know what else was good? There was no drama. People weren't being nasty. Even people who were like critical of Rachael, you guys were just asking questions. You weren't being real nasty about it. I appreciate that. I love that. I love when we can ask good, strong questions and not be mean about it. Just ask the question. Thank you, DJ. Appreciate that. Oh, you think I did good today? Thank you so much, Riley. Riley's chicken scratch. Yeah, so let's give a one in the chat to our moderator team, to everyone who donated today, everyone who sent the question, and this chat, because you guys did phenomenal. You ladies did phenomenal today. I love the questions. I love your commentary, and I could tell Rachael liked it too. So when you make our guests comfortable, but you ask the tough questions, that's what I like. And that's what you ladies and you guys all did today. And like BB said, Grant's questions were fair. And I did ask Grant privately. It's funny. Grant posted the questions. I asked him privately, and then he posted them publicly. And I'm kind of like, I wanted to respond to him. I'm like, I don't want to scare Rachael off, though. But I asked the questions. So thank you, Grant, for the questions. Love it. Oh, there was another comment, too. Somebody said, why do you always bring up Deitch won't come on your show? Where is that one? Where is that question? I can't even find it now. Somebody asked that, though. They were like, why do you always bring up Deitch won't come on your show? And then they said he goes on other shows. Yeah, but nobody asked the hard questions, though. I mean, that's the thing. He's only going on the shows that don't ask the hard questions or don't have the background of the hard questions. The best interview I liked actually was the first one he did with Noah. I like Noah. But I don't know. I'm just commenting. There's certain candidates who come on shows and certain ones who won't. And so far, Greg Connor's not coming on. Greg Connor's not coming on here. Great interview, Averill says. Yes, I'm gonna have some more political shows too. I'm probably gonna have Evan Felchuk coming up. He was a guy who ran for governor a few years back, who was on our show way back, and his brother's married to Gwyneth Paltrow, and his brother is the co-producer of Glee and other TV shows. And Evan's a great guy, somebody I respect a lot. He's politically and who he is as a human being. And I'm looking to catch up with Evan. He's going to be coming up pretty soon. If you don't know Evan Felchuk, you'll want to know him. I'm looking forward to that conversation. I'm going back to my past a lot and bringing back some of these old guests that were some of the best in the past, like Rachel today and like Evan. Monday night, 6:30. We have the widow of John McAfee. If you don't know about McAfee, you know about McAfee antivirus. His widow is coming on the show, and wow, there was a documentary about McAfee that was like one of the biggest things on Netflix ever. They're working on another movie. The Afro Man's manager hit me up to interview the widow of John McAfee. She's going to be coming on the show Monday at 6:30. Yeah. Mr. Felchuk's brother, Brad Felchuk, is also the producer of American Horror Story. Correct. So we got some amazing guests coming up. Again, Monday night, 6:30. Make sure you're here. Tuesday night, we're going to do the select board, and I'm working all the time. We're working over here all the time, not crossing 6 lanes of traffic. We're crossing our T's with the DMs and the messages to get all the guests on the show. Looking forward to it. Yeah, McAfee, he definitely was a weird dude. You know, some people think McAfee went crazy, but that's the question. Was he completely crazy, or were they out to get him? I mean, the guy said the government was going to kill him in jail, and then he died. He got Epstein in jail. Did he do it himself? I mean, we're going to find out. We're going to see what she thinks. We're going to talk to his wife on Monday night at 6:30. I'm looking forward to that one. Holy crap. There's also a journalist I follow, Rocco, who was with him on the run. I might have to follow up with Rocco, too, see if Rocco will come on. But, yeah, you better catch up on John McAfee before the show on Monday night, because it's a trip. You're going to have so much fun on Monday night with us at 6:30. Yeah, I am working over here. I am working. And I'm looking over at Louis. Louis been good. Louis chilling. I'm double duty. I'm dog sitting Louis, and I'm interviewing Rachael Rollins. Who works harder? Nobody. I'm double dipping all the time. People are worried about I'm not going to be able to eat. I'm eating fine, folks. Thank you again for hooking me up today. I went to Market Basket and I got the foot-long chicken parmesan subs. I got 2 of them, one for me and one for the lady. And I also got I got so much stuff. I got ribs. I got what was the other thing I got that was I went to Burger after. It's funny. I'll get like $150 worth of food. I'm crazy at Market Basket for 2 people, and then I hit the drive-through at Burger King. So thank you for the Burger King. Thank you for the Market Basket. You guys are trying to fatten me up, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I am a grifter. Thank you for all the food. I got, oh my God, I bought the biggest bag of Burger King you've ever seen. I love the burgers. Yes, that's right. BB, I think you're going to be here on Monday night. Oh, thank you, Scotty. Oh, I don't know about the duck. Oh, geez. Was there a duck boat crash today? Oh, boy. I hope my buddy that's a big-time comedian wasn't driving it or hosting it. I know some folks who do those duck boat tours. Yeah, the Market Basket subs are really good, and Burger King. I mean, that's the thing. The Burger King is right next to the Market Basket. I can't resist. I hit them both. Yeah, it is bad for me, processed food. But you know what? Like, I cook a lot during the week, and then I gotta have my subs and I gotta have my burgers every once in a while, once a week. Holy shit! I hope Dana was it Dana Bean. I hope he wasn't on there. He's a comedian that all is the guy behind the mic on some of those boat rides. Holy shit! Well, I'll check that out. Yeah, they do. Don't sleep on those market basket subs. This is what I'm talking about. They're the cheapest subs, and their quality is pretty damn good. Good enough for me to enjoy them. I love them. It's like two things I love: quality and cheap price. Thank you, Freebird Forever. I think I posted that one. Right behind it, I did some more coming in. Oh man, Avril. I think I posted that one. She said, "Great interview." I think I got all the super chats up. Uh, Publix is the best subs. Oh, hmm. Where is there a Publix around here? I've never seen one on the North Shore, at least. But they aren't cheap, huh? Yeah, Market Basket. I mean, you get a friggin' foot long sub for like $5. It's crazy. It's like prices from 10 years ago. Ah, see, I get a lot of steak over there too. All right. So again, I want to thank everyone for showing up today, especially short notice. Thank you for all the good questions. Thank you for all the super chats and the Venmo from Josie. I also want to acknowledge what's going on with Meredith because Meredith did. If you haven't checked out her channel, she posted the audio from Sparkly Rabbit there, who had tried to get a restraining order against her and failed. So check that audio out. I guess Sparkly is now threatening more legal action against her. It's like, come on. Just stop it, Sparkly Rabbit. Marie, just stop it. You're just embarrassing yourself. Maybe I'll cover that later this weekend. I'm not sure. We'll see. Check out Meredith's channel if you haven't. Follow her, subscribe. Also, check out yesterday, Grace Curley Show. Had another great Grace Curley Show. We just posted the video up from yesterday's interview on Grace Curley. We're talking about Proctor. We're talking about Sandra Birchmore and Karen Reed, of course. Check that out. Up new on our YouTube channel. That's the thing. Whether you like Meredith or not, I even people that don't like her and have claimed she's doxing or whatever, I don't know. But I think we could all agree this frivolous going to court to try to get a restraining order against somebody when you're not afraid of them, when you're talking about them every single day on your show, is a waste of legal resources. And it's just a bad look. Stop doing it. Stop it. Just ridiculous. We all know what it is. The judge saw right through it. Machado did the same thing to Altman the other day. That stuff needs to stop. That's the only reason I got into that. It's not that I'm trying to jump on the bandwagon against Machado or Sparkly Rabbit. You know me. I don't give a shit. I'm not at war with those ladies. I don't like a lot of what they do. But the line is this legal stuff. When you're come on, stop it. Everyone needs to stop it. Needs to stop. Stop wasting the legal resources. Yeah, I think everyone is over it. I agree. Even people who supported Sparkly Rabbit at first said they were going. They didn't show up. They know why they didn't show up because they realized too this is stupid. Yeah, both judges tossed it immediately. I mean, neither judge needed to think about it for very long. And both sides should just stop on Meredith too. Like it's not helping. Meredith is not going to take your shit. I mean, I think that's the bottom line at this point. If you're going to come at her, she's going to come back at you. If you don't like it, stop. It's that simple. And she will stop. I've even been almost like a mediator for her. I think between her and J7, I hope they all stop. I think a lot of people get caught up, and I think sometimes people realize they need to stop. So stop. Yeah. And you think Meredith wants to waste time on this? I don't think she does. I think she wants it just to stop. And Meredith has proven too, especially one of the things she said when she came on the show. She talked about, or maybe on one of her spaces, I can't remember, but she talked about was it Danny from Rat House Media? How they had an agreement. I thought that was cool. I thought Danny is mature. Good move, Danny. I think more people should do that. Who needs it? Well, I mean, this is somebody's ex. That's all it comes down to. Like, why are you getting involved in people's ex relationships and all that? And even, especially the ex has moved on. I don't think Aiden even talks about her anymore. So let it go. Yeah, somebody called it online cat fights. I mean, that's what it comes down to, isn't it? It's just stop. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Yeah, that's the bottom line. Real victims are getting the shaft when you do that stuff. Yeah, and that's the thing about Meredith. She's not a slacker. She's educated. You know? Some people pointed out, well, why did she file a harassment prevention order against Aiden? That's a lot different. You have to admit. That's a lot different. Laferio says, hey, Mike, hey, chat. YouTube street, right? I mean, some of these people just need to get over it. Just get over it, you know? I mean, for Christ's sakes, I'm over here friggin' possibly even helping Aiden to a small degree today. And you know I don't all like him, you know? I'm not letting it get personal. I don't really give a shit. That's what people need to be. They need to get over that shit. Not that I'm going to be kissing his ass or going back to the little group. I'm not doing that. And I'm not going to discount what he's done. But at the same time, I still think there's some issues with his persecution. Let's put it that way. Especially from Tully. All right, I think I'm out of here. I want to thank you all. Thank you all for these super chats. Thank you for supporting. It's good to see Laferio in the chat. Ooh, BB, somebody needs to speak to you. I'll send it over. Yeah, I want to thank everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for supporting and all the donations today. I want to thank our mod team. And I want to thank Rachael Rollins for coming in today. Spent over 2 hours with us. That's like almost unprecedented. I think I'm good. I think we got to go now. I'm expected to get some replay value out of this. I'm guessing some people are going to be playing on. What I'm expecting now is like after everyone said it was such a great interview, that few of the people that don't like me are going to replay it and say that I'm the worst interviewer ever. That's what, just like they did for Afro Man. I'm expecting it. I'm looking forward to that. If they don't notice at all and they pretend it didn't happen, that would be actually sadder. Uncle Private got another big interview. All right, I'm out of here, jerks. I will see you soon. Definitely on Monday night. Maybe if not sooner, but be here Monday night, 6:30. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe, follow us. I want to thank all the new subscribers. We've had quite a few new subscribers over the last couple of weeks, so I want to thank you for showing up and subscribing. Please hit all notifications, hit that sub button. About half of you watching have not subscribed. Please do so. Yep, famous long goodbye. I'm Irish. That's what we do. I'll give you a hug like 5 times. There you go. There you go. Scotty says it was a fantastic interview. Even if you hate Rollins, believe all that has been said about her in the past. There you go. So I'm just trying to be fair with people too. That's it. I'm at that point where I see both sides in a lot of shit. It's just like And I don't know who's to say what's right or wrong in a lot of times. So just ask the question, step back. Like it's funny because last time she ran, I endorsed her like it really made a difference. But I did like give her that kind of endorsement last time. I'm not endorsing anybody this time, or pretty much any time. I think the only race I might endorse is the treasurer race, and I'll probably endorse the Republican just because I think Goldberg is so bad. Anything is better, and I think the Republicans do have a good candidate. That's probably the only race I'll endorse. I just don't like to endorse. Like I said, who's to say I'm right? And a lot of times, it turns out you're not right. Like a lot of times, you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? Nobody knows. These candidates say a lot of things, but who the hell knows what they're going to do when they're in office? So, all right. The Irish goodbye is over. The Italian goodbye. I gotta go. Time to go. The French goodbye. I'm not. Well, maybe I do have a little French in me. It's funny. Almost all Irish. But I think there's a little bit of French Nova Scotia in me. Yeah, I'm still going. I haven't left yet. You guys won't let me leave. If you throw me another super chat, I'm definitely going to be here for a while. Yeah, I'm going to go walk. I'm going to go take some dogs out. And I do have more energy today. I went to bed early last night. I slept late and I went to bed. I went to bed early, slept late. I opened my phone. The first thing I see is Rachael Rollins saying, "How about today?" And I was like, "Yes." What time? All right, jerks. Peace out. Thank you so much. I love you all. Again, I want to thank my mods. I want to thank all the super chatters. I want to thank all the people who helped me with asking great questions today. I want to thank Rachael Rollins, and I want to thank all of you who are still here watching. Thank you so much for all your support. And again, without you, we couldn't do this. It's truly I really need you. I do. I need an audience, and you guys have delivered and stuck by me, and I can't tell you how thankful I am for you. So think about that. I'll see you soon, jerks. Peace out. Have a great